Chapter 7353. You'll also have to collect your monthly allowance. Now that you've become a consul, your allowance is much more generous than before. Zhonglei had a smile on his face. The reason why the steward worked so hard to become a consul was because this example was naturally very tempting. Is it possible to collect these cases together after accumulating them? Di Baichen asked. That's naturally possible. Zhonglei nodded slightly. Usually if you don't get your share this month, you can get it next month, but you can't withdraw it in advance. Many people receive it once every 3 months because every 3 months, the consul needs to come and report the situation. Di Baichen frowned slightly. Once every 3 months. For others this might be a long time, but for them, 3 months was not long at all. If he had to go every 3 months it would be a little troublesome. Zhonglei seemed to have seen through Di Baichen's thoughts and said, sometimes we will go into seclusion, so we might not arrive within 3 months. You can also find a steward to report to us. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. That works too. Of course. After becoming a consul, your authority will increase correspondingly. You will also have more freedom on normal days. As long as there are no problems in the mine, and the spirit-devouring stones you hand in every time can be passed, then it doesn't matter what you do or where you go. After all, with our current strength, the most important thing is to cultivate and find breakthroughs. The devouring or pavilion usually doesn't care about these things. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was completely relieved. He had been worried that there would be a lot of things to deal with after becoming a consul, but now it seemed that there were even fewer things to deal with as a consul than when he was a manager. When the time came for them to leave, all they had to do was to find a more reliable person in the family to help them hand it over. It was really very convenient. However, it's better for you to bring the steward here for the first time. That way it'll be easier to confirm. Understood. Thank you. Bailey Hongzhuang was very grateful. If not for Zhonglei's introduction, it would undoubtedly take a lot of effort for the two of them to understand all of this. It's just a small matter. I'm not too far away from your mine. We'll meet again sooner or later. Under Zhonglei's invitation, the two of them sat on his flying magic tool and flew for a while until they were about to separate. Just as he said, the two of them found that the mine they were in charge of was indeed not too far away. I wonder how Baichen and the others are doing now. Emperor Xiaofeng looked worried. They've been gone for a few days already. Nothing should have happened, right? Judging from my appearance, you should know that Master and the others should be fine. Xiao Xuanzi walked over and gestured for Di Xiaofeng to be at ease. I feel that with Master's power, nothing will happen. I heard that the devouring or pavilion is very powerful in the crossing immortal domain. Gong Jun said slowly, but I also think that Boss and the others will definitely be able to get away with it. Then let's wait a few more days. If he still doesn't come back, we'll have to go and take a look. Di Xiaofeng's expression was solemn. Xiao Xuanzi and the others' current situation could only prove that Baichen was still alive, but they couldn't tell if he was suffering or not. Okay, I'll go with you when the time comes. Bai Li Yanche replied. At this moment, a faint laugh was heard. Looking for us? Chapter 7354. Di Xiaofeng and the others heaved a sigh of relief when they heard the familiar voice. They turned around and saw Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang walking in with smiles on their faces. What happened to you guys? Di Xiaofeng was surprised to see that Di Baichen and Shangguan Yinying had returned to their original appearances. We were discovered, so we simply returned to our original appearance, Di Baichen said. We were discovered? Everyone was shocked. Then the mine is finished? It was not easy for them to find a way to settle their family down in the crossing immortal domain. Once they lost their identity as the mine manager, it would be more troublesome to find another way out. How about the rest of us try to get the position of manager? Di Xiaofeng said. That won't work. Bai Li Yanche shook his head. Even if you become a manager, it will take a long time to become a consul. That's true. Di Xiaofeng sighed with a hint of disappointment on his face. Di Baichen slapped the waste token on the table. Xiron's sharp eyes noticed the 2 words written on it and his eyes lit up. You became a consul in the blink of an eye? These words immediately attracted everyone's attention. Everyone looked at the waste token on the table and couldn't hide the excitement on their faces. How did you do it? Shangguan Yinying was in disbelief. You became a consul even after your original identity was discovered. You guys are simply unbelievable. It's all a lie. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. They promised the Vice Pavilion Master that they wouldn't tell anyone that they killed Qing Devil's master, so they could only make up a random excuse. However, Xiron and the others didn't suspect anything after hearing this. In such a complicated situation, there was probably no other way to escape other than lying. Moreover, these two people's ability to lie wasn't bad. Now that you're a consul, is everything like what Chen Yangyi said? It's done? Di Beichen nodded. Next, we just need to find a familiar steward in the mine. In the future, many things can be handed over to him. For the time being, no one in the family had ascended yet, so this could be done for now. After our clansmen have ascended, we can choose one of them to be the manager of the mine. This way we can leave the matter to him and we will be more at ease. Di Beichen's expression was relaxed. This was what he was most worried about when he came to the celestial domain. Now that the biggest problem had been solved, it was equivalent to a stone being lifted from his heart. Father is going to ascend soon. Previously he was worried about the situation in the crossing immortal domain, so he didn't ascend. Now that everything has been arranged, there is nothing to be afraid of. When Father comes, we can ask him if he is willing to be the steward. Di Xiaofeng chuckled. In the celestial realm, cultivation required a lot of resources, not to mention that being a steward was actually a pretty good job. Compared to other businesses, being a manager was undoubtedly more suitable. Beichen was the consul. Once his father became the steward, his authority would be similar to that of the consul. This is a good idea. Di Beichen nodded. When the time comes, Father can take the cultivation resources of the consul as well. I think his cultivation speed will not be bad. Now in the family, besides Father, Grandfather's cultivation speed is also not slow. Hong Zhuang's father and master's cultivation speed is also very fast. I think it won't be long before they come to the crossing immortal domain. Chapter 7355. Hong Zhuang, Uncle's cultivation speed is really fast. Shengguan Yingying was pleasantly surprised. My master's cultivation speed is not as fast as theirs. I heard that Uncle is about to break through. I think it won't be long. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Ever since they came to the upper realm, their cultivation speed was much faster than when they were in the lower realm. The D family's origin energy was rich to begin with. Coupled with the cultivation resources and the fruits they brought back, their origin energy had improved by leaps and bounds. According to their judgment, it wouldn't be long before everyone broke through. Then what are your plans now? Di Xiaofeng asked. Now that they had achieved their goal of coming to the crossing immortal realm, there seemed to be nothing else to do. We plan to go to the immortal realm next. Di Beichen looked thoughtful. Before we go, we'd better go back to Xiyin City. I don't know how Yunju and Zhongli are doing now. If we're going to the immortal realm, we'd better go with them. There were many cultivators in the immortal realm. It was much larger than the chaotic immortal realm. If they went separately, it wouldn't be easy to find the two of them. However, before that, we have to arrange everything properly. Let's wait until Father ascends. Di Beichen smiled faintly. They had to go to the immortal realm sooner or later. Now that they had been delayed in the crossing immortal realm for some time, they didn't have to worry about it. The crossing immortal realm was very important to the whole family. They had to arrange everything properly so that they could leave with peace of mind. You're right. Let's stay here for now. Di Xiaofeng nodded in agreement. In the following days, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen focused on cultivation. They had broken through to the elementary immortal realm for some time. After fighting with the Qing Devil last time, they realized the gap between them. According to the news they heard, the Qing Devil's strength had weakened after he came back. He was still in the process of recovery. They were already weak when they fought with the Qing Devil last time. Once the Qing Devil recovered his strength, they would be in a worse situation. Moreover, judging from the current situation, the cultivators of the immortal domain were not weak. Since they were going to the celestial realm, increasing their strength was also the most important thing. Otherwise, if they were to become existences at the bottom, wouldn't they be bullied by others? As for martial techniques and the like, I can only think of a way after I reach the immortal domain. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. A cultivator of the elementary celestial stage should be equipped with a stronger martial technique. Only then would they be able to unleash the strongest combat power. Fortunately, there were also sects in the celestial realm. After going to the celestial realm and looking for opportunities, he should be able to find a place to study. Apart from that, we also need to understand the realms above the elementary immortal stage. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Until now, they didn't even know much about the situation after the elementary celestial stage. If we had known earlier, we would have asked Zhong Lei properly when we met him earlier. He's not far away from the place. It's convenient if we want to ask him. Di Beichen smiled faintly, but I think it's better to ask the deputy pavilion leader. Zhong Lei's strength was not much stronger than theirs. They happened to have to take some people to the devouring or pavilion. When they were not there in the future, they could ask Lei Jun to deal with it. As for why they didn't ask Zhou Su to deal with it, this guy was too impatient. It was fine if he was like this in the mine. If he was like this in the devouring or pavilion, they would not be able to protect him once he got into trouble. Chapter 7356. Hearing Di Beichen's suggestion, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, a trace of doubt flashing in her eyes. The Vice Pavilion Master is extremely powerful. If we ask him, he will naturally know more. However, he might not pay attention to us. From the last contact and Ning Xian's reaction, the Vice Pavilion Master probably didn't care about people at all. It was already very difficult for the two of them to obtain the identity of Consort from the Vice Pavilion Master. If they went to ask about other things and angered the Vice Pavilion Master, it would be troublesome. Since he wants us to kill Qing Devil's Master, he naturally has to tell us more. As long as we don't directly state our intentions, we can talk about other things first, and then ask about them later. Before that, we'd better get some information from Ning Xian. The corners of Di Beichen's lips curled up slightly. It was obvious that he already had an idea. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was a little suspicious, but she did not object. Devouring or pavilion. Coming here again, the two of them were no longer as worried as before. Instead, they were able to enjoy the scenery around them very calmly. The entire devouring or pavilion was located on the surface of the sea. The winding corridors twisted and turned hundreds of times. The white rocks were carefully polished and looked very exquisite. The black building in the center was like a crouching flood beast, majestic and imposing. Back then, due to the urgency of the situation, his mind was filled with thoughts of how to escape, so he didn't pay too much attention to it. This time, after taking a closer look, Bailey Hongzhuang discovered that there was a very powerful restriction here. The waves outside were turbulent, but here, it was calm and peaceful. That's a good move indeed. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. Is this the devouring or pavilion? It's so spectacular. Zhou Su stood in the middle of the road and looked at the scenery around him. His face was full of amazement. Originally, I only heard that the devouring or pavilion is very amazing. Even the buildings there are not comparable to other places, but I have never seen it before, so I have no idea. This time, after seeing it with his own eyes, he finally understood how magnificent it was. Although it wasn't gorgeous, this kind of heaviness made it even more memorable. I can guarantee that there are many experts here. Looking at Zhou Su's appearance as if it was his first time entering the city, Bailey Hongzhuang felt helpless. This guy had only been here for a short while, but he had already attracted a lot of attention. I'm starting to regret bringing you here, Di Beichen said. Originally, they just planned to bring Lei Jun over to understand the itinerary, and for the time being they could leave the arrangements to him. They didn't think that after Zhou Su knew about this matter, he would strongly insist on coming. The two people couldn't resist his coaxing and pestering and finally brought him here. They just didn't expect that after coming here it would be like this. Don't be like that. Zhou Su was unaware of the gazes around him. This gate is made of spirit-swallowing stone. Can we take the opportunity to dig a little? Thinking about it, they didn't have much cultivation resources each month. If he could deduct a little from this, perhaps his cultivation would improve. There were too few cultivation resources, and his strength had not been able to make any progress. If you want to dig this door away, we'll have to see how many lives you have. A disdainful voice suddenly sounded. Hearing this voice, Zhou Su couldn't help but shudder, and an awkward smile appeared on his face. I just said it casually, don't take it seriously, don't take it seriously. Di Beichen noticed that the person who came was Ning Xin, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Steward Ning. Are you here to get this month's share? Chapter 7357. Di Beichen nodded. We would like to receive this month's quota, and at the same time, we would like to record the names of these two stewards. Ning Xian immediately understood what he meant. It could be seen that there were many people who did this among the consuls. You have to find a reliable consul to ask for help. Why did you find this guy? Ning Xian looked at Zhou Su with disgust. Although there were many people who wanted to steal from the devouring or pavilion, there were not many who were as exaggerated as this guy. How am I unreliable? Zhou Su was somewhat unconvinced. Get a mirror and take a good look at yourself. You're just short of writing the word lack of money on your face. Zhou Su was at a loss for words. What he said really made some sense. He's always been like that. He doesn't think too much about it, Di Beichen said. Ning Xian nodded slightly and didn't say much about this issue. This matter is easy to handle. I'll help you take note of it. You know the place to collect the rations. Understood. Di Baichen and Ning Xan pulled Ning Xan to the side after they sent Zhou Su and Zhou Su to get their rations. Looking at the mysterious appearance of the two, Ning Xan couldn't help but frown. What? Is there something you need from me? We want to ask you something. What is it? Have you ever heard of the Qing Devil? Ning Xian's originally calm face couldn't help but change a little. What's wrong? Why are you asking this all of a sudden? We have a grudge against Qing Devil, but we don't know much about him, so we want to ask. Go and find out for yourself. I'm still busy here. Ning Xian glanced at the two of them, then turned and walked into the hall. These two guys definitely wanted to get some information from him. Why did they suddenly talk about Qing Devil? Hey, so wait a minute. Bailey Hongzhuang pulled Ning Xian back and casually took out a fruit. Chief Steward Ning, this is a fruit that we specially brought to show our filial piety to you. Would you like to try it? Fruit? Ning Xian was about to complain, but when he saw the fruit in front of him, he couldn't bring himself to say anything. That was because this fruit was definitely not ordinary. What kind of fruit is this? Ning Xian's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. He had followed the deputy pavilion master for many years and had seen many good things. Ordinary things could not enter his eyes, but he had never seen this kind of fruit before. We don't know what this fruit is called, but after consuming it, it will help increase one's cultivation. As soon as she said this, Ning Xian unconsciously licked his lips. This fruit can improve one's cultivation? Why would we lie to you about this? You'll know when you taste it. Bailey Hongzhuang's smile was light and sincere. From Huang Qinggui's reaction back then, it could be seen that this fruit was very attractive to cultivators in the elementary immortal stage. Even though Ning Xian had seen many good things, anything that could help increase one's strength was extremely tempting to cultivators. Without waiting for Ning Xian to speak, she directly stuffed the fruit into his hand. Seeing this, Ning Xian no longer refused and accepted the fruit. The fruit was not big, so Ning Xian tasted it directly. The sweetness in his mouth made him feel refreshed, and the energy that was released next made him extremely surprised. The energy in this fruit is very pure. Not bad, the effect of this fruit is very good. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. If Chief Steward Ning is not busy, why don't we have a small gathering tonight? In addition to this fruit, I have two more with better effects. Chapter 73-59. Under the flattery of Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang, Ning Xian was also very happy. Not to mention that the wine and dishes tasted very good, he also felt that this wine was much better than the ones he had tasted before. What kind of wine is this? The smell is so intoxicating. After 3 rounds of wine, Ning Xian's cheeks were red and his eyes were blurred. He looked at the wine cup in his hand with curiosity. This is the drunk peach blossom that we brewed ourselves. If Steward Ning wishes, why don't you bring some back later? Bailey Hongzhuang's cheeks were also flushed red. Her fair face was tinged with a faint pink color, making her look even more delicate and charming. She exuded a drunken charm. Ning Xian nodded repeatedly. That would be great. Thank you. Steward Ning is too polite. You've followed the vice pavilion master for many years. The two of us still rely on your guidance. Hearing the words deputy pavilion master, Ning Xian immediately nodded. Of course, to follow the deputy pavilion master, there are a lot of things to pay attention to. If you accidentally break a taboo, then no one can save you. What's the taboo? Di Baichen asked. Ning Xian's expression changed. He squinted at the two of them. Why are you asking me this? He slammed the table and his expression became extremely serious. Are you guys trying to take advantage of this opportunity to harm the deputy pavilion master? Steward Ning, you think too much. We just want to know the deputy pavilion master's preferences so that we can be more careful in the future. Di Baichen said. That's more like it. Ning Xian immediately relaxed. You guys, you're far from qualified to harm the deputy pavilion master. Qing Devil? Bailey Hongzhuang reminded him faintly. Don't mention the name Qing Devil casually. If you anger the deputy pavilion leader, you will suffer. Ning Xian burped and said drunkenly. Why is that? In fact, Qing Devil has nothing to do with the deputy pavilion head, but his master is related to the deputy pavilion head. Speaking of which, Qing Ling is the vice pavilion lord's brother-in-law. As soon as he said that, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen looked at each other with strange expressions. It had never occurred to them that Qing Devil's master and the deputy pavilion head would have such a relationship. Brother-in-law. That was a very close relationship. Then this is the vice pavilion master's family. Why can't I mention it? Bailey Hongzhuang looked puzzled. That's something you don't know. Ning Xen waved his hand. What family? Their situation is more like enemies. Back then, this Vice Pavilion Master's younger sister was also a beauty, but she fell into Qing Ling's hands. In fact, in the immortal realms, Qing Ling was also considered a young talent. He had already made a good reputation for himself at such a young age. Just think about the scene at that time. A hero and a beauty, they are a match made in heaven. But I didn't expect that good things didn't last long. Qing Ling turned out to be a playboy and a troublemaker. Ning Xen slapped the table, his face full of anger. In my opinion, the Vice Pavilion Master's younger sister is a peerless beauty. This guy is really a jerk. How could he find another woman outside? He is so hateful. Tell me, this kind of man should be hacked to death. Looking at Ning Xian's angry face, his eyes red, Bailey Hongzhuang was secretly surprised. He looked just like the Vice Pavilion Master's little sister that he had always loved. It shouldn't be so explosive. Chapter 7360. Hateful indeed. He's not human. Seeing that Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang were on his side, Ning Xen seemed to have found a way to vent his anger. He immediately spilled the beans. It's one thing for that guy to find another woman outside, but he actually provoked a lot of enemies. At that time, his enemies came to seek revenge. He went out to fool around with another woman, but the assistant pavilion leader's sister was at home. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart thumped, and she understood what was going to happen next. If what Ning Xian said was true, then the assistant pavilion leader and Qing Ling had a huge feud. His own sister was treated in such a manner. If it were anyone else, they would not let it go so easily. Then why didn't the assistant pavilion leader kill Qing Ling? Was it because he was too powerful? Qing Ling was indeed powerful, but the assistant pavilion leader might have been able to deal with him. However, the assistant pavilion leader's sister, Ning Xen, sighed. He looked upset and regretful. She still missed Qing Ling. Before she died, she even asked the assistant pavilion leader to promise her not to kill Qing Ling. Although the assistant pavilion leader didn't agree, it was her only wish before she died. In the end, he had no choice but to agree. It's such a pity that Qing Ling let such a good lady down. Bailey Hongzhuang looked regretful. Perhaps it was because this lady was too kind that the assistant pavilion leader hated her and regretted it even more. He regretted that he didn't choose the right person to marry her to such a person. He also hated that he couldn't kill Qing Ling with his own hands. That's right. When Ning Xian saw that there was someone who shared the same hatred as him, he became even more excited. Bastards like that should die early. Is he still alive? Bailey Hongzhuang asked, pretending not to know. He's still alive. Ning Xen rolled his eyes. Whenever I think about how he's still free and unfettered, I feel unhappy. Can the assistant pavilion leader be at ease? Of course not. Ning Xen shook his head. It's just that the assistant pavilion leader kept his promise and couldn't do anything to Qing Ling. The assistant pavilion leader killed all the people who killed Mississippi. Even Qing Ling's woman was killed by him. He didn't do anything to Qing Ling. Although the assistant pavilion leader doesn't usually talk about this, I know that he's still holding a grudge. I'm sure he's looking forward to someone killing Qing Ling. If the assistant pavilion leader can't do it himself, he can get someone else to do it. Bailey Hongzhuang probingly. The Vice Pavilion Master is also a stubborn person. He won't do what he promised the young mistress. However, you're right. All these years, the Vice Pavilion Master has been more polite to anyone who has a grudge against Qing Ling. However, those guys were so useless that they hadn't killed Qing Ling yet. Qing Devil is Qing Ling's disciple, so the assistant pavilion leader hates him. That's why I told you not to mention Qing Devil so casually. As he spoke, Ning Xen realized that something was wrong. He couldn't help but frown. That's not right. Why did you bring up Qing Devil all of a sudden? Thud. Ning Xen was already drunk. Steward Ning? Bailey Hongzhuang called out softly. Seeing that Ning Xen showed no signs of waking up, she knew that he was really drunk and relaxed a little. Even if Ning Xen woke up tomorrow and remembered what happened today, they could just brush him off. Chapter 7361. Bailey Hongzhuang heaved a sigh of relief. They were worried that this might be a trap. Fortunately, they now knew that everything was true. They had the same enemy as the Deputy Pavilion Master, so there was no need to worry too much. At the very least, it was safe for the family members to come here. Wife, are you sure that all of this is real? Di Beichen asked via voice transmission. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Don't worry, I drugged the wine. He must be telling the truth. That's good. Di Beichen also looked relieved. Vice Pavilion Master, you're quite interesting. You can't do it yourself, so you're hoping for others to do it? If the two of us hadn't taken advantage of this, we wouldn't have been able to escape unscathed last time. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. This was also their good luck. With our current cultivation, we can't even deal with the Qing Devil, let alone Qing Ling. From this, we can see how much Vice Pavilion Master hates Qing Ling, otherwise, he wouldn't have treated us like this. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. The Vice Pavilion Master's younger sister is also a pitiful person. It's normal for him to have such grievances. Qing Devil was already very abominable. Unexpectedly, his master was even more abominable. The two of them were indeed master and disciple. Since they were destined to be rivals, they had to make plans. Once they killed Qing Devil, Qing Ling would not sit back and do nothing. It seems that you have a lot of worries. At this moment, a cold voice sounded from the corner of the room. You've heard that someone close to me is here. If you have any questions, why don't you ask me directly? Upon hearing this voice, Bailey Hongzhuang hurriedly turned around and saw that the Deputy Pavilion Master had appeared in the room. In an instant, the pressure came crushing down and even breathing became difficult. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's expressions changed. They had only invited Ning Xian for a meal today. They didn't expect that the Vice Pavilion Master would also come after hearing the news. This was really too shocking. Thinking about it, the Vice Pavilion Master already knew the purpose of their investigation. He could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Vice Pavilion Master, it's not what you think. It's not what I think. The Vice Pavilion Master raised his eyebrows. Then what is it? We just happened to run into Steward Ning today, so we wanted to get drunk and get closer. Di Beichen stood in front of Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile on his face. The Vice Pavilion Master glanced at his little action and said, "Get closer? Why is it that I'm the one who's trying to get closer to her?" Steward Ning drank too much. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly said, "Drank too much?" The Deputy Pavilion Master chuckled with a hint of mockery in his laughter. Obviously, he had already seen through these little tricks. That's right. He can't control what he's saying when he's drunk. Fortunately, Ning Xian was drunk. If he knew that the two of them had pushed all the blame to him, he would probably wake up immediately. Vice Pavilion Master, actually, we share the same hatred against a common enemy. Although we didn't know that Qing Ling was such a despicable person, we did know how despicable Qing Mo was. We have to get rid of this kind of guy as soon as possible so that others won't be harmed. Don't worry. Once we become stronger, we'll definitely kill the two of them. Bailey Hongzhuang said. Chapter 73-62. There must be a lot of people who want to kill this kind of people. Our strength is limited now, but as long as the others don't kill them, the two of us will do our best to kill them. How could Di Beichen not understand that this was the most important thing for the Deputy Pavilion Master? Ning Xian had already said that the Deputy Pavilion Master would always be very lenient towards anyone who had a grudge against Qing Ling. Thinking about it, although the current situation was not very good, there was still a chance to ease it. The Vice Pavilion Master looked at the two sly fellows in front of him and found it funny. You guys are quite capable, aren't you? You're actually saying that you're on my side against the common enemy? Of course, we can't be compared to the Vice Pavilion Master. We share a common enemy. However, I believe that you think highly of us. Otherwise, you wouldn't believe that we have the ability to kill Qing Ling, right? Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had also thrown caution to the wind. The Deputy Pavilion Master's cultivation was much higher than theirs. If they were to fight at this moment, the two of them would definitely not be at an advantage. Most importantly, the matter that they had worked so hard to achieve would be troublesome. The Vice Pavilion Master looked at the two of them and found it funny. You two are pretty smart. You've heard a lot about me from Ning Xian, so you've already learned how to climb up a pole? What are you talking about? We are speaking our true thoughts. True thoughts? The Vice Pavilion Master snorted coldly. It's just that today has already come to this, so it's fine. Originally, I was a little worried that the two of you were too stupid and would be easily deceived, wasting the opportunity one gave you. Now, it seems that you aren't too stupid. At least you still have some brains. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood that the Deputy Pavilion Master had already guessed that they would do this. If they did not come, the Vice Pavilion Master would be disappointed. Of course, we won't let you down, Di Beichen said. I hope so. The Vice Pavilion Master sneered. If he has some brains, at least he has some hope of dealing with it. It's not that I want to discourage you, but if you have to go through so much trouble to deal with a Qing Devil, you're still far from being able to deal with his master. Yes, we will work hard. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. As long as we have more time, I believe there will be hope. I hope so. The deputy pavilion master sighed. He put his hands behind his back and turned to look at the moon outside the window. Many people have said this to me over the years, but most of them are no longer around. She's gone. Bailey Hongzhuang felt a chill in her heart. If he was gone, then his life would be gone as well. Let me remind you that you'd better not talk about your relationship with me when you arrive in the immortal realm. Otherwise, before you have the chance to look for the Qing devil, his master will come to you on his own accord. How dare Qing Ling target you? He knows that he's no match for me, but he can't swallow the resentment in his heart all these years, so he'll deal with any cultivator who attacks him ruthlessly. Logically speaking, he shouldn't know, right? Maybe he has arranged for someone else to be by my side. The deputy pavilion master looked indifferent and said this very casually. Obviously he did not take it to heart at all. However, for Di Beichen this was no doubt a bolt from the blue. This meant that Qing Devil and the others might have known what they were doing now. Trouble would come after they arrived in the immortal realm. Chapter 73-63. Vice Pavilion Master, you're joking, right? Bailey Hongzhuang asked tentatively. If that was the case, then things would be really troublesome. I'm not in the mood to joke. Since we're going to deal with them, we naturally have to be prepared. If you fail miserably before it's your turn to look for him, wouldn't you be letting down your lofty ambitions? The Vice Pavilion Master's voice was full of ridicule, as if he had seen through Bailey Hongzhuang's trick. Thank you, Vice Pavilion Master, for your advice. Di Beichen was not annoyed and bowed to express his gratitude. Hearing this, the Vice Pavilion Master looked at Di Beichen in a higher light. This kid was definitely not ordinary. When he first saw these two people, he felt that they were very capable and were somewhat different from ordinary people. Of course, the most important thing was that Di Beichen's contract beast was very powerful. Even he could not tell what species it was, so he must have some tricks up his sleeve. Now it seemed that this kid was quite capable to be able to do this. As for Bailey Hongzhuang, her alchemy skills were probably very good. She could actually make Ning Xian tell the truth, so she was quite capable. Ning Xian had followed him for many years and there were many people who wanted to get information out of him, but none of them succeeded. Presumably, even Ning Xian himself could not believe it. Forget it, good luck to you. The Vice Pavilion Master dropped these words and turned to walk outside. Vice Pavilion Master, Steward Ning since you invited him out, you naturally have to send him back. The two looked at the completely drunk Ning Xian and could only watch as the Vice Pavilion Master left. Steward Ning is already so drunk, I'm afraid he won't be able to go back tonight. Why don't we let him sleep in the restaurant for the night and go back tomorrow? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Di Beichen nodded. Okay, you go rest first. I'll send him back to his room and then return. Clang. Hearing the movement from the room next door, Di Beichen opened the door and saw Zhou Su and Lei Jun standing in the room with stunned faces, and Ning Xian, who had just woken up, was sitting on the bed. Steward Ning, you're awake. Di Beichen said. Ning, Manager Ning? Only then did Zhou Su notice that the one lying on the bed was Manager Ning. The teacup on the floor was actually knocked out by him. Ning Xian nodded. He was still a little confused. It was not until he woke up that he realized what had happened last night. His eyes widened. I was drunk last night? You were drunk last night and we didn't know where you were staying, so we arranged for you to sleep in the inn? Ning Xian patted his head with a look of horror. I'm actually drunk? Did I say anything I shouldn't have? No, Steward Ning fell asleep directly after he got drunk. He didn't go crazy. Hearing this, he was slightly relieved, but he still had some doubts in his heart. Usually, there were many people who wanted to get him drunk, but in fact, he was not drunk even after 1,000 cups, so he was not worried at all. However, this time he was really drunk. It was really hard to believe. Steward Ning, these are the fruits you put on the table last night. I saw that you were drunk, so I kept them first. Here you are. Seeing the two fruits, Ning Xian immediately threw the annoyance in his heart aside and a happy smile appeared on his face. So the fruits are here. I thought I had already put them away. Ah, thank you very much. This is what I should do. We still have to thank Steward Ning for taking care of us. Chapter 73-64. Ning Xian felt a little weird when he heard the word take care of, but he didn't think too much about it because he was thinking about the fruit. At this time, Lei Jun couldn't help but ask in a low voice, what the hell is going on? Why did Steward Ning sleep in our room? Anyway, you wouldn't have come back last night, so this room was empty. It just so happened that Steward Ning was drunk, so I let him sleep here for the night. Di Beichen replied. How do you know we won't come back? Zhou Su asked in surprise. Di Beichen raised his eyebrows. Will you come back last night? Zhou Su blushed. Last night, they just wanted to find a beautiful girl and didn't want to come back. Ning Xen got up and went to the devouring or pavilion immediately. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen followed him. Are you going to find the deputy pavilion leader? We have something to ask the deputy pavilion leader, Di Beichen said. What's the matter? Ning Xen couldn't help asking. The deputy pavilion leader doesn't like to be disturbed. If it's not a big deal, you'd better not bother him. We want to ask him something about cultivation. I see. Ning Xen understood. The deputy pavilion leader has a high status, and his understanding of cultivation is not comparable to ordinary people. If you can get his guidance, you will make a lot of progress. Has the deputy pavilion leader ever given you any guidance? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Sometimes he will give me some guidance. Otherwise, with my aptitude, I can't have such achievements. Steward Ning smiled. Since you also have a grudge against Qing Devil, the deputy pavilion leader won't mind giving you some guidance. Hearing this, Di Beichen's eyes changed slightly. Judging from Ning Xian's expression when he got up this morning, he should have forgotten what happened last night. In fact, they didn't tell him about their grudge against Qing Devil from the beginning to the end. But he not only saw it but also was very sure. Maybe he also came last night with the intention of inquiring about it, but he didn't expect Hongzhuang's medicine to be strong enough, so he fell into her trap. Ning Xen smiled. The deputy pavilion leader is not so terrible. You are young and promising. Since he appreciates you, he must be willing to give you some guidance. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows slightly raised. Ning? The deputy pavilion master looked at the two people who had reappeared, and there was a hint of laziness between his brows. 2. Not only that, even the increase of my origin power has become very slow, so I would like to ask Vice Pavilion Master about the cultivation method after the elementary celestial stage. After cultivating for so long, they had also noticed some differences. Although it was a completely new realm after the elementary celestial stage, and the speed of cultivation would definitely be incomparable to before, it had been some time since they had broken through. Not only did they not feel that they were on the verge of breaking through, but the effects of their cultivation had become extremely slow. There must be something wrong with this. Chapter 73-65. Regarding this question, they had also asked Zhou Su and the others, but everyone was not very clear about the situation, so they could only place this idea on the deputy pavilion master. You don't know how to cultivate after the elementary celestial realm? The vice pavilion master looked very surprised. So you didn't temper yourself when you fought with Qing Devil? Temper? Di Beichen heard the key point, but he still shook his head. Oh. The vice pavilion master suddenly chuckled. So that's how it is. It seems that you do have some hope. What do you mean? Bailey Hongzhuang was also puzzled. They had never heard of this tempering before. You should know that after entering the elementary celestial realm, you're considered an immortal. There must be some differences between you and mortals, right? Yes. Then do you know what the differences are? Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other and shook their heads. They only knew that after breaking through to the elementary celestial realm, their cultivation was much stronger than before, but they didn't know the differences. One of the most important reasons why mortals are mortals is their lifespan. Cultivators go against the heavens and change their fates. The stronger you are, the longer your lifespan. Below the elementary celestial realm, your lifespan is less than 800 years. Above the elementary celestial realm, as you break through, you'll become immortal. Immortal? Di Beichen was shocked. He always knew that a cultivator's lifespan would increase with the improvement of his strength. Immortality had always been a thought, but he didn't expect it to be so close. Indeed, the elementary celestial realm is divided into 9 grades. The first grade trains the body roughly. After the second grade, it starts to temper the hands, feet, internal organs, head, and the whole body. Experts above the elementary celestial realm can use their hands and feet as weapons, and their hardness is far beyond that of ordinary bodies. After all the tempering, they'll be real immortals. Now they're only half immortals, but they're qualified to cultivate. When Bailey Hongzhuang heard this, she also understood. She never knew that after the elementary celestial stage, there would be such a cultivation. When they were with Granny Hua, she did not mention this. She only thought that they were still quite far away from breaking through to the elementary celestial stage, so she did not teach them. It turned out that the cultivation method above the elementary celestial stage was completely different, so they had made very little progress in this period of time. I can see that your fleshly bodies are much stronger than ordinary cultivators who have just broken through to the elementary immortal stage. It can be seen that you have consciously tempered your fleshly bodies before. Indeed. However, there's still quite a gap between it and the true tempering of the elementary immortal realm. That might not be the case. The Deputy Pavilion Master smiled faintly. If you didn't refine your body well, you wouldn't have been able to fight with Qing Devil. After all, his cultivation is higher than yours. He just came back from the ancient battlefield not long ago. His strength has decreased, which is why he is like this. That's true. The Deputy Pavilion Master nodded. It said that he possessed someone else's body. Therefore, even if his cultivation is still there, this new body still needs to be tempered again. Therefore, you have to seize this opportunity. So his body needs to be tempered again. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed inwardly. It seemed that Qing Devil's cultivation was much weaker than before. I can see that he's at least at the second grade, so you don't have to belittle yourselves. Chapter 7366. He's not as good as you in terms of combat power when you're at the same cultivation level. The Vice Pavilion Master's words affirmed Di Beichen's confidence. However, he was not happy about it. Qing Ling would not wait for him to finish his cultivation. It was meaningless to say that he would win when he was at the same cultivation level. Unless he could catch up with Qing Ling's cultivation level, it was just empty talk. We'll catch up with him as soon as possible, Di Beichen said. The Vice Pavilion Master nodded with a smile. You've been cultivating for a much shorter time than Qing Devil. Maybe you can kill Qing Ling one day. He had already seen that Di Beichen and Di Beichen did not look young, they were really young. When Qing Devil made a name for himself in the immortal region, everyone called him a genius. However, he was much weaker than Di Beichen and Qing Ling. Presumably, as long as they spent a little more time, these two people would definitely make a good name for themselves in the immortal realm. You've just entered the elementary celestial stage, so you've built a foundation for your physical strength. In the past, you've only been cultivating origin energy. Now, you can try using origin energy to cover your body and temper it. It'll bring unexpected results. Thank you for your advice, Vice Pavilion Master. Both of them cupped their hands and thanked him. With this cultivation method, they had a direction for their cultivation. They had never thought that their cultivation method would be different after they broke through to the elementary celestial stage. Now that they thought about it, they had been making no progress in their cultivation and had wasted a lot of time. Although you haven't made much progress in your cultivation level, you've accumulated origin energy. Although it's a little slow, it's not without benefits, the Vice Pavilion Master reminded them. Stabilizing your cultivation level will also be of great help to you. We understand. The Vice Pavilion Master nodded slightly. These two had great potential. Spend more time on your cultivation. Don't worry too much about other things. Your strength is the foundation. Vice Pavilion Master, are you talking about the mine? Di Beichen raised his eyebrows and asked. The Vice Pavilion Master glanced at him and said, Didn't you bring 2 stewards with you? Do you want me to think that you're concerned about the mine? Your subordinate doesn't dare. Di Beichen cupped his hands. He knew that this guy was a sly old fox. It seemed like he didn't know anything, but in fact he knew everything. Alright, we have achieved our goal. Let's not stay here any longer. The Deputy Pavilion Master waved his hand and sat down on the soft couch. However, the two of them had no intention of leaving. Deputy Pavilion Head, you've seen how powerful Qing Devil is. We suffered a loss when we fought with him last time. Otherwise we wouldn't have ended up like this. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the Vice Pavilion Master with a smile. The martial skills of the elementary immortal stage are much more powerful, and we are currently in the crossing immortal domain. I'm afraid we won't be able to go to the immortal domain for a while. This martial skill is really a big problem. If Qing Devil comes again, we'll be outclassed. Di Beichen looked bitter. Seeing the two of them echoing each other, the Vice Pavilion Master knew clearly that these two guys were getting bolder and bolder. How dare they try to take advantage of him now? If you want to get the martial skills from me, you have to pay a price, right? The Vice Pavilion Master supported his head with one hand and looked at them with a faint smile. You want to get something from me for nothing? That's something that has never happened before. Chapter 7367. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were overjoyed when they heard the Vice Pavilion Master's words. Since he did not reject them directly, it meant that there was hope. They did not understand the situation in the immortal region, and before everything was settled, they could not leave directly. Learning a martial technique was the most important thing at the moment. Vice Pavilion Master, you know our situation. With your identity and status, I'm afraid we don't have anything that you want. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen, who took out several fruits and placed them on the Vice Pavilion Master's table. After thinking about it, I'm afraid this is the only thing that we have that might be useful to you. According to their judgment, the Vice Pavilion Master's cultivation was at least rank 5. Although they had some cultivation resources, the Vice Pavilion Master clearly did not need them. As for these fruits, they were very helpful in improving a cultivator's strength. Fox and the others relied on these fruits to improve their cultivation, but they did not know if the cultivation methods of humans and beasts were different after the elementary immortal realm. However, as long as it was effective, it would definitely be effective for the Vice Pavilion Master. The Vice Pavilion Master looked at the fruits in front of him. He remembered that Ning Xan was deceived by these fruits and fell into a trap yesterday. He picked up one of the fruits and tasted it. At that moment his eyes lit up. It was indeed good stuff. What do you think? Di Baichen asked. This is good. The Vice Pavilion Master nodded, then his gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. What drug did you give Ning Xan yesterday? Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly startled and said instinctively, I didn't drug him. Don't deny it. The Vice Pavilion Master raised his hand. Ning Xan has never fallen into a trap all these years. Yesterday he fell into your hands. If he didn't have some tricks up his sleeve, no one would believe him. That is that. What happened last night is in the past. I won't hold it against you. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up the Vice Pavilion Master. After confirming that there was no anger on his face, she took out a bottle of medicine. This is it. The Vice Pavilion Master took the medicine bottle. The white liquid looked like ordinary water. Even after opening the bottle, there was still no smell. What is this? This potion will make it easier for people to get drunk after it is put into wine. Moreover, I added some medicinal herbs that are similar to the truth pill, so the words of those who have taken it will definitely be the truth. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't hide anything and told him the whole story. She had only concocted the potion on the spur of the moment because that was the only way to ensure that Ning Xan was telling the truth. After the Vice Pavilion Master took a closer look, he asked, Are your alchemy skills very high? No, prepare a few more bottles of this stuff for me, and this martial skill will be yours. The Vice Pavilion Master raised his hand, and 2 martial skill books appeared on the table. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. Just as she was about to take the martial skill, she realized that the assistant pavilion leader had taken it back. Come and get it when it's ready. Bailey Hongzhuang pursed her lips. The assistant pavilion master was really stingy. Was he afraid that she would go back on her word? Yes. After leaving the main hall, the two of them were in a good mood. They had gained a lot from today's trip. Although I didn't see what kind of martial arts it was, the Vice Pavilion Lord's technique shouldn't be bad. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. She felt that the Vice Pavilion Lord wasn't as hard to get along with as everyone said. Chapter 7368. Is it difficult to make this potion? Di Baichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with concern. I saw you spend a lot of time making it the other day. It's not difficult. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I haven't made this potion since I came to the chaotic immortal realm, so I spent some time studying it in the beginning. Now I just need to make it according to the same ratio. However, I don't have many medicinal herbs left. I'm afraid we have to buy some more. There are many medicinal herb shops on this street. Let's go. Di Baichen smiled. Ning Xan had been concerned about the result since the two of them went in. When he saw the two of them walking out talking and laughing, he knew that the result was good, so he was relieved. The two of them were safe and sound, which meant that he wouldn't be punished too severely by the deputy pavilion leader, right? However, it didn't take long for Ning Xan to realize that he was too optimistic. Deputy pavilion leader, you're treating us differently. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang brought the potion over. The deputy pavilion leader gave the 2 martial arts books to the two of them. One was a palm technique, the other was a sword technique. In addition, there was an introduction to cultivation. Bailey Hongzhuang flipped through a few pages and found that there were some notes on it. She guessed that it was written by the deputy pavilion leader. Even if she only read a few parts, she could see that the deputy pavilion leader's understanding of cultivation was very good. With this we can cultivate in peace. Bailey Hongzhuang waved the cultivation book in her hand. They hadn't made any progress for such a long time. It was indeed time to cultivate properly. The two of them didn't stay in the devouring or pavilion for long. They had achieved the purpose of this trip and they had gained a lot. However, when they were about to leave, Zhou Su and Lei Jun were reluctant to leave. It seemed that they hadn't stayed here long enough. Let's go. Don't be so reluctant. Di Baichen looked at Zhou Su. If you really like a girl, why don't you bring her back? Nonsense, I just have some feelings for this city. Zhou Su looked at the city. Fortunately, you have to collect cultivation resources soon. Don't come. I'll come for you. Don't worry, I won't touch any of your cultivation resources. I'm serious. What do you think? You can come if you want, Di Baichen said. Anyway, they didn't plan to come and collect the cultivation resources themselves. Haha, thank you very much. Zhou Su's face was filled with joy. Like I said, I used to think that Ji Chuan wasn't easy to get along with. It's because you aren't Ji Chuan that our relationship is so close, ha. Lei Jun looked at Zhou Su, who was so happy that he had completely forgotten that their identities were different, and there was a touch of helplessness between his brows. By the way, I actually have a question that I've always wanted to ask you. Lei Jun thought for a while but still said it. What is it? Just tell me. I'm sure you're all aware of what we did with Ji Chuan and the others back then. It was fine before, but now that you've become consuls. In the past they were of the same status, so it wasn't a big deal. But now that they were consuls, they had to give an explanation for secretly keeping the spirit-devouring stones. Even if he didn't say it, they would have to face this problem sooner or later. Whether they needed to be punished or not, this couldn't be avoided. After hearing this, Zhou Su's expression became nervous, and his heart couldn't help but panic. Chapter 73-69. Baichen, this is something that happened before. For the sake of us being brothers, can you let it go? Zhou Su looked worried. If this kind of thing was reported, both he and Lei Jun would be finished. Lei Jun didn't say anything, but his worry could be judged from his expression. I thought it was something serious. What's the matter? Di Baichen waved his hand with a faint smile and continued to move forward. It's not like I don't know what happened in the mine. Almost every steward will do this kind of thing. If you really want to investigate thoroughly, then all the stewards will have to be changed again. As soon as these words came out, Zhou Su and Lei Jun both breathed a sigh of relief and relaxed. Scared me to death. Zhou Su patted his chest. It turns out that this brother's sudden promotion is not good. Baichen, thank you. Lei Jun cupped his hands. Why are you so polite? Di Baichen smiled faintly. When Tang Yuan was here, you also helped me a lot. However, I still have to remind you. Although Hong Zhuang and I are now consuls, you can't be too presumptuous because of this. It's fine in the past, but if you can't fill in the account every month, you should understand. Lei Jun nodded seriously. Don't worry, we know it in our hearts. We will never break the rules because of this. That's good. So, we can't do the business before, right? Zhou Su sighed. He didn't have enough cultivation resources on weekdays. It was too difficult to improve his cultivation. If they had no choice, they wouldn't have taken the risk to do business with outsiders. Now this path had been completely cut off. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang said, that's not it. We came in from that way before. We can tell you the method of this transaction. However, the people who traded with Ji Chuan every year were also our friends. If Gu Jian hadn't gone too far, he wouldn't have ended up like this. I hope that if you trade with them in the future, don't raise the price. Hearing this, Zhou Su couldn't help but be stunned. You mean we can continue to do this? That's right. Just don't go overboard. I'm not dreaming, am I? Zhou Su rubbed his eyes and looked at Lei Jun. This was too unbelievable. Lei Jun obviously did not expect such a result. This was simply great news for them. Back then, they had relied on Ji Chuan and Ji Yunshu, and the things they had received had been divided among them. Therefore, they had received much less than what they should have received. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang had given them the method of the trade, it would be up to the two of them to split the profits in the future. With the same amount of devouring spirit stones, they would be able to obtain a lot more cultivation resources. Hongzhuang, thank you so much. You're welcome. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. They are also counting on this business deal. I only hope that you can get along well. Haha, don't worry. Since they're your friends, we definitely won't treat them unfairly. You can rest assured now. Relax, I'm completely at ease. Zhou Su smiled. After returning, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen began closed-door cultivation. Bai Li Yanche and the others also focused on cultivation. Last time when they fought with Qing Devil, they also suffered a great blow. The feeling of almost being unable to fight back was really uncomfortable. Only by breaking through to the elementary immortal stage as soon as possible could they be of help. Chapter 73-70. Inside the house. Bailey Hongzhuang read the first-grade cultivation method written in the cultivation method, and then closed her eyes and tried to cultivate. The origin energy in her dantian surged with the circulation of the cultivation manual. With a thought, the origin energy was drawn out and spread throughout her body. Previously, the origin energy in her limbs and bones flowed to her dantian. This time, it flowed in the opposite direction from the inside out. Bailey Hongzhuang tried carefully. When the origin energy covered her body, she finally understood the difference that the deputy pavilion leader had mentioned. The origin energy entered her skin and gradually merged with her skin. She could clearly feel the changes in her skin. Even though the changes were very small, she could still confirm that her skin was being tempered. The tempering in the first stage was the simplest. As long as the surface of her body was completely tempered and her skin became extremely hard, she would be considered to have successfully advanced to the first stage. However, during this process she also realized that her origin energy was being consumed at an extremely fast rate. The origin energy of a cultivator in the elementary celestial stage was extremely rich. However, when it came to tempering, she realized that it was far from enough. Compared to the speed of tempering, the rate of consumption was simply shocking. Once the origin energy in her body was exhausted, she would have to stop tempering and wait until her origin energy recovered before she could continue tempering. In less than half a day, Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes. The origin energy in her body had been completely depleted. The cultivation in the elementary celestial stage is indeed different. No wonder the deputy pavilion leader reminded me to save cultivation resources. With such a cultivation speed, if I were to accumulate cultivation resources, the consumption would be terrifying. However, if I don't do that and rely on my origin energy to recover before tempering, it would definitely take more time. She could only choose one of the two. She could either spend more time or spend more time. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed inwardly. It seemed that she could not save cultivation resources. She took out 2 blood spirit stones and held them in her hands. She quickly absorbed the origin energy in the blood spirit stones and continued tempering chaotic immortal territory. Brother Mo, Sister Hongzhuang and the rest have been gone for quite a long time. They haven't returned after so long. I wonder how they are now. Zhongli Mu's eyes were filled with worry. Originally, they had chosen to stay here so that they could break through to the elementary immortal stage as soon as possible. Now that the two of them had successfully broken through, they even made a trip back to the abandoned immortal forest. There was nothing much to do now. Mo Yunjua's eyes darkened as he looked at the distant horizon. They have always been smart. I don't think there will be any problems. Now that we've settled everything, why don't we go to the crossing immortal domain and look for them? Yunju, why don't we go now? A dark blue figure stood beside Mo Yunjua. The man's face was delicate and pretty, and his face was filled with concern. Yisun, there's no rush. Mo Yunjua shook his head, his eyes flashing with a bright light. They'll naturally come back to find us after they've settled the matter. In my opinion, they should be back soon. If we go to find them now, it will be troublesome if we get lost on the way. Zhongli Mu thought about it and nodded. You're right. Then let's wait here. I hope they can come back soon. I want to go to the immortal domain to take a look. That depends on whether Yen Che and the rest have broken through, Mo Yunjua said. I think it won't take long. Their cultivation talent is not weak. Zhongli Mu smiled, his young face filled with anticipation. End of chapter. Chapter 73-71. Yisun could not help but frown when he heard this. However, when the two of them looked at him, a smile immediately appeared on his face. Since that's the case, let's cultivate in peace. Didn't you say that they're all cultivation geniuses? Although we've improved quite a bit recently, they might have had better opportunities as well. When we meet them, we'll be at a disadvantage. You're right. Zhongli Mu nodded. Their strength has always improved very quickly. Back then, my cultivation was higher than theirs. I didn't expect them to catch up to me so quickly. When grandfather found out, he even said that I was an embarrassment. You're already a genius among geniuses for being able to break through to the elementary immortal stage at such a young age. Your grandfather must have said that to encourage you, Yisun said. A gentle expression appeared between Zhongli Mu's brows. His grandfather was also a well-known figure in the immortal region. As his grandson, he could not tarnish his grandfather's reputation. At night. Your Highness, Mo Yunjue and Di Tian aren't willing to look for them now. Yisun's expression was somewhat vexed, but more than that, he was nervous. The man glanced at him indifferently and said, Since you've already gained their trust, just wait patiently. They'll come out soon anyway. Your Highness, are you really sure that he's the person we're looking for? Gong Jun thought that his methods were flawless, but how could I not have improved over the years? Back then, when he joined forces with Di Tian, I was unable to fight back. Now that so many years have passed, the situation is no longer the same. This time, I'll completely change the situation. The man's eyes gradually narrowed. His handsome and devilish face was filled with hatred and viciousness. But with Gong Jun's protection, I'm afraid it won't be easy for us to make a move. Yi Sun looked worried. If we make too much of a commotion and the first princess finds out, won't we? That's why I asked you to fight your way in and hide it from Gong Jun. How would he know if you're discovered? The man's lips curled. On one hand, Gong Jun was hiding it from him. On the other hand, he was hiding it from the first princess. If he directly told the first princess, it might be more difficult for him to find an opportunity. But now that the first palace master did not know, he had an opportunity to take advantage of. Do this matter well. If you succeed, you will have made a great contribution. Don't worry, Your Highness. This subordinate will definitely get it done. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Crossing immortal domain. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at her own skin. Even though it didn't seem to have changed much on the surface, she knew that her strength was no longer the same as before. With such a degree of toughness, even if it was cut by a blade, it would be impossible to leave a scar. I didn't expect that above the elementary immortal stage, one's physical body would be transformed into an immortal body. How interesting. The corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly. Previously, when she was cultivating, she had always paid attention to the cultivation of her physical body. It was precisely because of this that her cultivation speed was much faster than ordinary cultivators of the elementary immortal realm. It was undoubtedly excellent. Even so, it would still take some time to break through to rank 1. Gong Jun smiled when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang come out of seclusion. Sister-in-law, you've come out of seclusion? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Gong Jun, I need some blood spirit stones. She had no other choice. Her cultivation was simply too wasteful of blood spirit stones. She could only shift her focus to Gong Jun. Chapter 73-72. Gong Jun's face immediately fell when he heard that. Sister-in-law, what are you and boss doing? Boss came yesterday and took away a lot of blood spirit stones. Why are you here again today? Cultivation requires blood spirit stones. Bailey Hongzhuang found it funny when she heard that Di Beichen had come yesterday. She didn't think blood spirit stones were important in the past, but now that she was cultivating, she realized how important they were. No wonder Zhou Su and the others didn't make any progress in their cultivation. At this rate of consumption, the manager's cultivation resources were far from enough. These are the remaining blood spirit stones. Boss probably guessed that you didn't have enough blood spirit stones on you, so he left half behind when he took them away yesterday. Gong Jun's lips twitched. When he took out the blood spirit stones yesterday, he realized that his boss had only taken half of them. He was rather touched. It seemed that the blood spirit stones weren't left for him, but for his sister-in-law. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't stand on ceremony and immediately put the blood spirit stones away. Thank you. Gong Jun looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with tears in his eyes. When he saw that she was about to leave, he couldn't help but ask, Sister-in-law, you really didn't leave anything for me? Qin Returning Tower has a lot of profit every day. Don't be sad. There will be more soon. Bailey Hongzhuang comforted him before taking out some pills from her storage ring. She said, take these pills and sell them. You should be able to sell some. Gong Jun immediately beamed with joy when he saw that. Bailey Hongzhuang's pills had always been of excellent quality. They could be sold for a high price in the crossing immortal domain. Sister-in-law, don't worry. Leave it to me. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't waste time. She took the cultivation resources and went to cultivate again. The pills in her hand were actually leftovers from before. With their current cultivation, they didn't have much of a chance to use them. It just so happened that most of the cultivators in the crossing immortal domain weren't strong, so these pills could be put to good use. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. Bailey Hongzhuang was overjoyed when she noticed that her skin was starting to turn gray. According to the records in the book given by the deputy pavilion leader, such a situation meant that he had successfully advanced to rank 1. For 2 whole months she had been cultivating in seclusion, and the consumption of blood spirit stones was extremely fast. Today she had finally succeeded in breaking through. She thought that her body already had very few impurities. She didn't expect that she would be able to expel these impurities after breaking through. When he reached the end of his cultivation, his body would completely transform into the body of an immortal. That would be completely different. When the impurities were completely discharged, Bailey Hongzhuang familiarized herself with it and walked out of the room with a refreshed look. Even though she had only broken through to rank 1, she could clearly feel that she was different. Her spirit was better than usual. Not only that, his vision had become clearer, his range of vision had become wider, and he could even hear sounds from afar very clearly. Being able to see and hear clearly was a very good feeling. Bailey Hongzhuang walked out of the room with a smile. When she noticed that Di Beichen was also outside, she immediately walked over quickly. "Wife, you broke through?" Di Beichen noticed the changes in Bailey Hongzhuang and asked with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "You broke through faster than me. I just broke through 2 days ago, so we're at the same time." Shangguan Yingying also walked out of the room when she heard the commotion in the courtyard. She saw that the sun was just right and the immortal couple was chatting happily. Chapter 73-73. You're finally out. You've been in seclusion for 2 months. Shangguan Yingying walked over quickly, but stopped before she reached Bailey Hongzhuang. "Wait, let me see. You two seem different." "What's the difference?" Di Beichen asked. Shangguan Yingying carefully looked at the two of them, and a look of understanding appeared in her eyes. "Hongzhuang, I haven't seen you for 2 months. You seem to have become more beautiful. Your skin is more sparkling and translucent and more delicate." Shangguan Yingying's eyes widened. As a woman, she had always been very concerned about her appearance. With just one look, she noticed the difference. Hongzhuang was already very beautiful, but now she was truly beautiful and charming. She was more delicate than a flower. "Di Beichen too. You're even better looking." Shangguan Yingying shouted behind her. "Xiren, come and take a look." When Xiren heard her voice and quickly walked out of the room. "What's wrong?" "Take a look. Haven't they become more beautiful?" Shangguan Yingying asked. Xiren looked carefully and said suspiciously, "Don't tell me you two have dual cultivation?" Bang. Di Beichen sent Xiren flying with a palm strike. When Xiren crawled up from the ground, patted the dust off his body and said, "I was just asking, why are you so savage? If you've really obtained any dual cultivation techniques, can you teach me?" Bang. Shangguan Yingying kicked Xiren and sent him flying. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Shangguan Yingying's cheeks were slightly red. She found it funny. This Xiren really had no scruples at all. He even dared to say such things in broad daylight. "You two are too exaggerated." Xiren got up again. "Didn't I just say a few words? Do you have to treat me like this?" When Bailey Yanche and the others heard the commotion outside, they all walked out of the house. When they saw Xiren, who was in a sorry state, they couldn't help but ask, "Xiren, what did you do this time?" "Beichen and Hongzhuang have obtained the dual cultivation method. I was just asking them and they beat me up." "Yanche, you're Hongzhuang's brother. You have to ask them." Bailey Yanche's face instantly darkened. He was starting to regret asking that question. "Don't bother with him. He's just bored out of his mind, so he's looking for trouble." Shangguan Yingying was too lazy to say more about this matter. Even if they were married, it was still embarrassing to talk about this kind of thing. Ling Er looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and noticed the same problem. "Hongzhuang, you've become more beautiful." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "After we went to the devouring or pavilion this time, we realized that the cultivation of the elementary celestial stage is the cultivation of the physical body. We went into seclusion for 2 months and successfully broke through to the first grade elementary celestial stage. Our bodies have undergone a certain transformation, which is why we look different." Hearing this, everyone understood. So that's how it is. The cultivation after the elementary celestial stage is actually like this? That's right. My physical strength is now much stronger than before. My defense has also increased. After entering the elementary celestial stage, the most important thing is to transform the mortal body into the body of an immortal. Therefore, every part of the body needs to be refined one by one. We've never considered this problem before, so we delayed a lot of our cultivation time. Chapter 73-74. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. If she had known that this was the case with their cultivation speed, they would have at least broken through to the first grade by the time Azure Demon found them. Perhaps they would not have been suppressed so miserably. Who would have thought that the cultivation method after the elementary celestial realm would be completely different? Bai Li Yin Che comforted them. "I believe that with your talent, it's only a matter of time before you catch up with the Qing Devil. Fortunately, you've already figured out this problem. Otherwise, I'm afraid it would take even longer." Di Xiaofeng chuckled. "Thanks to you, we won't have to take such a detour when the time comes. Hongzhuang and I have broken through to level 1. Have you broken through to the elementary celestial realm?" Di Beichen asked. Bai Li Yin Che smiled. "I finally broke through a few days ago." "I've also broken through," Ling Er said. Hearing this good news, Bailey Hongzhuang's face was overjoyed. She immediately handed the cultivation method in her hand to the two of them and said, "This is a detailed introduction to the cultivation method after the beginning immortal stage. Take a look." Bai Li Yin Che put away the book. "Okay." We've just broken through, so we need to stabilize our cultivation for a while. We'll cultivate when the time comes. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. It's good to stabilize your cultivation. You're a demonic beast, so we can't compare with your physical strength. It should be very easy for you to break through to level 1. We're still a little short. I'm afraid it'll take a while before we can break through. Di Xiaofeng looked helpless. He thought his cultivation talent was very outstanding, but compared with Di Beichen and the others, he realized that his talent was much weaker. It's a threshold to break through from the Radiant Sun realm to the elementary celestial realm. It's not easy to break through, so it's normal to spend more time. Don't be too anxious. Sometimes going too far is as bad as falling short. Di Beichen's expression was calm. He thought about how many cultivators in the Immortal Chaos realm had been stuck at the Brilliant Sun realm for many years without being able to break through. For them to be able to break through in such a short amount of time was already a great opportunity. Even if he had to spend more time, as long as he could make a breakthrough, it would be extremely outstanding. Beichen, I've thought about it carefully. Since you've already broken through to the elementary celestial stage, why don't you head to the immortal region first? Di Xiaofeng's expression was serious. This was the result of his careful consideration. Based on my and Yun Yan's situation, it will take us a while to break through. Even if we enter the immortal region now, we will only be a burden to you. Since that was the case, he might as well stay here for now. When Father comes over and everything here settles down, it won't be too late to look for you after I make a breakthrough. What do you think? Di Beichen was an eagle. He was suited for a wider world. As the elder brother, he couldn't keep up with his younger brother's pace. At the very least, he couldn't drag his younger brother down. With his strength, crossing celestial domain was a good choice. He also wanted to go to the immortal region, but it would take him more time. Hearing this, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other. The two of them didn't expect Di Xiaofeng to make such a suggestion. Xiaofeng's words make sense. You still have a lot of things to deal with. Staying in the crossing celestial domain won't increase your strength much. Why don't you head to the immortal region? Ling'er said slowly. Now that the situation in the crossing celestial domain was more or less settled, there was no need to continue staying here. Chapter 73-75. Bailey Hongzhuang thought about it carefully and nodded. That's not a bad idea. They needed to improve their strength. Now they had only mastered the cultivation method. If they wanted to improve further, they would have to go to the immortal region. After Father and the others ascend, I will arrange everything properly. You can rest assured. When you have a place to stay in the immortal region, it will be very convenient for us to find you. Di Xiaofeng smiled slightly. His younger brother and sister-in-law were definitely not ordinary people. Perhaps the next time they met, the two of them would be very far away from them. However, he was never jealous. He only hoped that they would get better and better. Di Beichen pondered and said, Okay, then we will go to the immortal region and work hard. When we have a certain foundation, you can come back. Azure Demon was currently in the celestial realm. Although he was severely injured last time, he didn't take his life. Most likely he was still on guard against them now. In addition, according to the Vice Pavilion Master, they might encounter some trouble after going to the celestial realm. If they brought everyone along, it would be more dangerous if they encountered any problems. It was better to wait for them to stabilize and then let Big Brother come. This way it would be safer. Then what about Yingying and I? Xiren's expression changed. Yen Che and Ling'er had broken through, so they naturally had to go together. However, he and Yingying hadn't. Should they go or stay here? Di Beichen glanced at Xiren. Do you need me to find a dual cultivation method for you? Xiren's expression stiffened. You are still teasing me at this time? Instead of focusing on these things, you should spend more time on cultivation. Look, Yen Che and the others have all broken through. Xiren couldn't help but lower his head. He was a little ashamed. In comparison, his strength had improved a little too slowly. Beichen and the others had given them a lot of cultivation resources since they came back. Compared to other cultivators, their cultivation conditions were undoubtedly much better. However, with the help of Beichen and the others, he still hadn't broken through. It was really embarrassing. However, he soon realized that something was amiss. That's not right. My cultivation talent can't compare to the two of you in the first place. Yen Che is a beast king, and his cultivation talent is already very abnormal. It's not something that I can compare to, okay? You make it sound like I don't want to make progress. It wasn't that he wasn't cultivating. While Beichen and the others were in closed-door cultivation for 2 months, he had also been in closed-door cultivation. What happened to Qing Devil taught him a lesson. He decided to make a breakthrough as soon as possible in order to pay back what Qing Devil and Xiao Sou had done to him. That despicable and shameless woman. The memory of how she stabbed Ying was still fresh in his mind. If he didn't kill her, he would never forget it. Di Beichen chuckled. I'm just reminding you. Are you going or not? Ziran looked at Shangguan Ying. Ying didn't say anything. He thought for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, I'll go too. All these years he had been cultivating with Beichen. He had a premonition that if he stayed in the crossing celestial domain this time, the gap between him and Beichen would be even bigger in the future. He might not be able to catch up with him anymore. Then let's go together. Di Beichen wasn't surprised. He patted Ziran's shoulder and said, seize the time and cultivate well. In the celestial domain, all cultivators had reached the elementary celestial stage. If they didn't break through, they would be bullied even if they went in. Chapter 73-76. Seeing that Di Beichen agreed without hesitation, Ziran also smiled. Okay. After you go, stay in the Chaos Ring for the time being. We'll first inquire about the situation. If the Brilliant Sun Realm cultivators are not in a difficult situation, you guys can come out. If the situation is too difficult, you guys can stay here for the time being. I understand. Ziran nodded. The cultivation environment in the Chaos Ring is not bad. If the time comes, we'll go back to the upper realm for a while. We can go after we break through. Okay. After making this decision, everyone decided to leave. Di Beichen quickly arranged everything. At the same time, he introduced Zhou Su to Di Xiaofeng. After the two knew that Di Xiaofeng was Di Beichen's big brother, they were extremely polite. Originally, Di Beichen planned to arrange a job for Di Xiaofeng. Becoming a steward was not a bad choice. However, when Gong Jun knew that everyone was preparing to leave, he immediately refused. No matter what, he wanted to leave with everyone. Regarding this, no one objected. They handed the returning Qin Tower to Di Xiaofeng. Now that everything in the returning Qin Tower was on track, he only needed to take a look at the situation. He did not need to spend too much effort. With the returning Qin Tower, they could be considered to have something to rely on here. They did not even have to worry about cultivation resources. When the time comes, we'll come back depending on the situation, Di Beichen said. Di Xiaofeng nodded slightly. Don't worry, your big brother is not useless. Leave these things to me. I'll take care of it properly. I've always known Big Brother's ability. Di Beichen chuckled. As the young master of the Di family, Di Xiaofeng had always been extremely outstanding. These things were really simple for him. Right, this is for you. Di Xiaofeng handed him a note. Looking at the note in his hand, a location was written on it. This is? The nine-tailed Inferno Fox has already woken up. This time, when I decided not to go, it also agreed. Previously, we had promised it that we would go to a place. This is the place it was talking about. After you go to the immortal domain, you must go and take a look. Hearing this, Di Beichen also understood. Don't worry, I will definitely go. Yes. Di Xiaofeng let out a sigh of relief. I believe the nine-tailed Inferno Fox won't harm you, but the demonic beasts here are very strong. I think you should be careful. He had already witnessed the strength of the nine-tailed Inferno Fox. A demonic beast that the nine-tailed Inferno Fox called very strong, its strength was imaginable. No one knew what a murderer like that would be like once he got angry. Perhaps it would be extremely dangerous. I'll be careful. Xiaofeng, don't worry. Beichen has a very powerful contracted beast. Who knows, we might be able to see a great battle between the two of them. When Ziran chuckled. Thinking about your contracted beasts, each stronger than the other, I'm really envious. When can I also have a contracted beast like that? At that time, I won't have to do anything and just let someone else do it. It's both majestic and elegant. Simply perfect. The reason why you can't find a powerful contracted beast is probably because of your thinking. Who would have nothing better to do than to come work for you? Xiao Xuanzi couldn't help but say. Chapter 73-77. Xiao Xuanzi felt that after following his master for so long, his master had never had such an idea. Thinking about it carefully, he was really lucky. Ziran's tone stagnated and his face was a little dark. Was this guy looking for a beating? Seeing this, Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh. Ziran was simply a clown. Under such circumstances, the group embarked on the journey back. According to the deputy pavilion master, although the ascension entrance to the immortal domain had been closed, there was a way to enter the immortal domain every 3 years. This was the connection between the devouring or pavilion and the immortal domain. As a member of the Devouring or Pavilion, they could use this method to enter the immortal domain, but there was still a long time before the next time they went to the immortal domain, so they decided to go back through the natural moat. What's more, they had to go to Xi'an City to meet up with Yunju and the others. Di Baichen, Hongzhuang, be careful on your way back. Seeing them leave, Zhou Su and Xiao Xuanzi felt a little reluctant. After getting along with each other during this period, they had become very close. In the future, this deal will be handed over to you. Don't spread it out, and you must keep it a secret. Di Baichen warned. Once this kind of thing was spread out, it would inevitably cause a huge disturbance. At that time, not only would they be in trouble, but Lu Jin and the others would also be finished. Don't worry, we still cherish our lives very much. This kind of thing that threatens our lives is impossible. Lei Jun chuckled. That's good. I hope we will have a chance to meet again in the future. There will be. It was dark all around. The dark aura of the natural moat hit them in the face, and the sunlight never appeared here. Even if everyone's strength had improved, when crossing the natural moat, everyone was still cautious about the dangers that might appear at any time. Fortunately, they still remembered the route they took, and they also remembered some of the places that needed to be paid attention to by Boss Chen. When they returned to the town again, they found that the formerly peaceful town was now emitting a huge energy fluctuation, and some familiar houses had been turned into ruins. What's going on? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. This situation was obviously caused by someone. Could it be that someone had fought? Lu Jin, I advise you to tell me the route now. Otherwise all of you will die. A man looked at Lu Jin arrogantly. At this moment, he had one hand around Lu Qiu's neck, and his eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Behind him, several men had already restrained Yang Tianzhao and Jiang Zhen. The two of them had clearly suffered a vicious beating. Their clothes were stained with blood, and they looked miserable with pale faces. They knelt on the ground as their blood mixed with sand and stones flowed all over the ground. Lu Jin, don't tell him? Jiang Zhen gritted his teeth. Even if you tell him, he won't let us go. We're going to die anyway. Even if we die, we can't let them die happily. Bang! The man kicked Jiang Zhen's body. If you keep talking, I'll kill you right now. Father, don't say it. Lu Qiu's eyes were filled with hatred. Even if the knife on his neck was very close and blood was gradually seeping out, he was still fearless. Seeing this, Lu Jin also revealed a look of hesitation on his face. He understood that in this situation he would not be able to escape death in the end. However, if he did not say anything, he really could not watch everyone die in front of him. Chapter 73-78. Looks like you're not motivated enough. Why don't I kill one of you first? The man laughed coldly as his gaze swept across Lu Qiu and the others. Should I kill him first, him or him? Why don't I kill your son first? Since he's never been to the natural moat, there's no point in keeping him alive. As soon as he finished speaking, the man's expression instantly turned ferocious. He gradually exerted more force on the sharp sword in his hand, and fresh blood flowed down the tip of the sword and onto Lu Qiu's clothes. In an instant, his neck was dyed bright red. Lu Qiu's body trembled as the fear of death enveloped him. However, he stubbornly gritted his teeth and did not say a word. Qiu! Lu Jin screamed at the top of his lungs as his hands trembled incessantly. However, in the face of his son's determined gaze, even though his eyes were filled with tears, he did not say a word in the end. Just as they had said, none of them would be able to escape this calamity. Even if they were to die, they would not let the other party have a good time. You go first. Father will be with you soon, Lu Jin said in a low voice. When the man saw that Lu Jin had no intention of giving up at this point, he was instantly enraged and his attack became even more ruthless. Since that's the case, then die. The sharp sword in the man's hand turned from a cut to a stab and fiercely pierced towards Lu Qiu's neck. Ding! A clear sound rang out and the sharp sword in the man's hand fell to the ground. The sudden turn of events caused everyone to raise their heads and look in front of them in confusion. Lu Jin and the others' faces were filled with disbelief. Young Master Di? Di Baichen and the others rushed to Lu Jin's side. After they had climbed up the natural moat, they had already smelled the scent of blood coming from the small town. This had made them feel extremely strange, and they had not expected to see such a scene when they had arrived. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly brought Lu Qiu to the side and took out a bandage to stop his bleeding. Lu Qiu had long given up hope and was only waiting for death to come. He did not expect that at the last moment, someone would come to save him. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't say much. She took out a pill and stuffed it into his mouth. She then wrapped up the wound and said, "Your injury isn't very serious. The wound on your neck is only a flesh wound. It hasn't hurt your core. You just have to be careful not to let the blood flow out again. Lu Qiu nodded blankly and stood behind Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Even at this moment he still couldn't believe that his life was saved. A glimmer of hope appeared in the eyes of Lu Jin and the rest. They were already in a desperate situation, and the appearance of Di Beichen's group was no different from divine soldiers descending from the heavens. What's going on? Di Beichen asked in a deep voice. Jiang Zhen and Yang Tianzhao were both under their control. Not far away there were many corpses of the townsfolk. It was obvious that a bloody battle had broken out here. They wanted to get the method to enter the natural moat from us. If we didn't tell them, they would massacre the entire town. Lu Jin quickly calmed down and his hands stopped trembling. He immediately explained the situation in a concise and comprehensive manner. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were not surprised. There was nothing special about this small town. If not for this, the other party would not have acted so wantonly. This matter is a bit strange. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly, her eyes looking at the other party's group. Chapter 73-79. What's wrong? Shengguan Yingying asked, puzzled. There are more than 10 of them. The leader's aura is very strong. He should be more powerful than me and Beichen. Such an expert should be able to do well in the celestial realm. However, he came to a small town outside the chaotic celestial realm just to do business with the devouring spirit, or? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. She knew it was impossible. Although the devouring spirit or was rare outside, it was not too difficult for an expert in the elementary celestial realm. There was no need to pay such a high price to come outside just for some devouring spirit Oregon. It was not worth it at all. Bai Li Yanche and the others also understood. At a glance, they saw there were 3 experts in the elementary celestial realm. Such a team could almost wipe out a large area in the chaotic celestial realm. No wonder the small town was facing such a disaster. Who are you? When Di Beichen was sizing up the man was also sizing up Di Beichen. You don't need to know who I am. What you need to know is whether you can leave here alive or not. Di Beichen did not say much. He unsheathed his long sword and dashed out quickly. Sword shadows scattered in the sky and attacked the man from all directions. Ding, 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 ding. Shocking sword chi exploded in the air, emitting waves that made people's hearts palpitate. The man did not expect Di Beichen to attack without saying anything. He waved the long sword in his hand, and the origin energy in his body surged. Then he charged forward. Bang! Their swords collided and a string of dazzling sparks sputtered out. Di Beichen's eyes narrowed. The man's strength was far beyond his imagination. You're just at the first stage of the elementary celestial realm. How dare you attack me? I'll send you to hell. The man shouted coldly. There was arrogance and wildness between his eyebrows. All of you attack. Leave no one alive. As soon as he said that, the cultivators behind the man charged forward with their weapons. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed. Let's go. Yingying, you're in charge of saving them. Shengguan Yingying said without hesitation. The 8 of them might not be able to match up to the other party in terms of numbers, but their fighting prowess was on a whole different level. Shengguan Yingying's body was as nimble as a snake. She shuttled through the crowd and quickly rescued Jiang Zhen and Li Wuyo. As soon as he came out, Jiang Zhen unlocked the shackles on his body and took out his weapon. Then he rushed forward aggressively. These guys, I'm going to kill them. Jiang Zhen. Yang Tianzhao was worried when he saw that Jiang Zhen was still so impulsive despite his injuries. He also wanted to rush up, but his cultivation level was not as high as theirs, and coupled with his serious injuries, he would only be a burden if he went up, so he might as well stay here. Uncle Yang, can they win? Lu Qiu worriedly watched the great battle in front of him. The energy fluctuations were extremely shocking. He could only hear the sounds of fighting, but he couldn't see what was happening in the center of the battlefield. Yang Tianzhao hesitated for a moment before nodding. Yes, young Master Di and the others are very strong. In the center of the battlefield, Bailey Hongzhuang stopped after killing 3 people. The other party's strength was very strong compared to the entire town, but it wasn't much of a threat to them. The only thing they needed to pay attention to was the man in the lead. If she guessed correctly, the man was probably at the 2nd stage of the elementary celestial realm. Beichen alone could understand the difference between the 2nd stage and the 1st stage. Chapter 73-80. Lu Jin, your injuries aren't light. Rest for a while. Looking at the seriously injured Lu Jin who was still charging forward, Bailey Hongzhuang tried to persuade him. Hearing this, Lu Jin couldn't help but be stunned. Miss Bailey, this? Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Xiren and the others. Leave those guys to them. It's just a matter of time. There were only 3 people above the elementary celestial stage. Now, other than the leader, the other 2 had been dealt with. She noticed that Ling and Bai Li Yanche were only holding back a few people. Only Xiren's situation was slightly dangerous. He had been in the Glorious Sun stage for a long time and hadn't met an opponent of equal strength for a long time. Now that he had the chance to fight, it was undoubtedly excellent. He would just treat it as finding someone to practice. Lu Jin saw the situation clearly and immediately heaved a sigh of relief. A feeling of surviving a disaster spread. When he noticed Di Beichen's situation, he couldn't help but say, Lu Teng is a second-stage elementary celestial stage. Young Master Di is still a first-stage elementary celestial. I'm afraid we'll need help. He didn't expect Lu Teng to have broken through to the second-stage elementary celestial stage. That was why he fell into such a situation. Otherwise, even if they couldn't win, they still had some hope of escaping. It's okay. He can do it. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the celestial figure in the air, her eyes full of trust. If the difference in strength was too great, the difference would have been obvious. However, Di Beichen's situation was obviously not difficult. The other party treated him as an ordinary first-stage elementary celestial stage. Once he underestimated the enemy, the consequences were already destined. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's confidence, Lu Jin was a little puzzled. Bang! A figure fell to the ground. Lu Ting retreated a few hundred meters before stabilizing his body. His eyes were filled with surprise. Are you really a first-stage elementary celestial stage? So what if I am? Di Beichen's eyes lit up. Ever since he knew that the elementary celestial stage's cultivation method was different, he had always wanted to know the difference between a tempered limb and an untempered limb. He didn't expect to have the opportunity to experience it so soon. The other party had obviously tempered his right hand, and the strength of his right hand was extremely shocking. In the beginning, he had almost fallen into his trap. Fortunately, his opponent's grasp of this power was not thorough enough. Furthermore, he had not grasped a very good martial skill, so he was not able to suppress him. Lu Ting's face turned even uglier after he received a positive answer. He was a rank 2, yet he couldn't even defeat a rank 1. It would be a joke if word got out. Just as he was about to make another move, he realized that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were already standing at the side, watching their battle. Where are my people? He quickly looked around and realized that several of his men had already died. Only 3 of them were still fighting with one of the enemy's men. Hey, I'm not done here yet. Why are you guys watching the show over there? When Xiren had been holding back the 3 of them, waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to finish off their targets before they came to help him. However, as he waited, the fluctuations of the battle around him had already disappeared. Only then did he realize that something was wrong. He took a closer look and realized that these people had stopped to watch the show. They had no intention of helping him at all. Xiren, you've been freeloading all day. It's time for you to do something. Bai Li Yanche chuckled. It's just 3 people. With your strength, it won't be a problem. *CK, you guys are too much. Xiren was dumbfounded. Were they kidding him? Chapter 73-81. Why are the 3 of you only targeting me? Can't you see that there's someone else there? When Xiren could not help but ask his opponents. However, the 3 of them completely ignored him. What kind of joke was this? These people were all in the elementary celestial stage. If they were to attack, they would probably die before they could even reach them. Fortunately, there was one in the radiant sun stage among them. Who else could they target other than this person? You can hit anywhere but not my face. As the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Moreover, there were 3 of them, so when Xiren could not help but be hit, the 3 of them did not hold back and punched Xiren in the face. After being punched in the face, a burning pain came. Xiren immediately felt that his face must be swollen, and he immediately became angry. I already said not to hit my face, but you still hit my face. What's going on? Suddenly, everyone realized that Xiren seemed to have opened up his conception and governing vessels, and his attacks became unusually ruthless. Lu Qiu looked at Xiren's sudden burst of shocking combat power, and his eyes were filled with shock. This, Shengguan Yingying thought for a moment and said, he probably cares more about his appearance. Lu Qiu and Yang Tianzhao looked at each other. They knew that women usually cared more about their appearance, but they did not expect that there would be men like this too. Lu Ting felt a chill in his heart when he realized that the situation was settled. He thought that it would be easy to resolve today's matter, but he did not expect such an unforeseen event to occur. Immediately, a ferocious look appeared on his face, and it was obvious that he was prepared to fight Di Baichen to the death. "Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me." Bailey Hongzhuang's expression turned serious when she saw this. The other party was not weak. If they fought with their lives on the line, perhaps Di Baichen would be in danger. However, just as Lu Ting charged forward and they were about to block him, they realized that this guy suddenly changed direction and ran in another direction. "This guy is really cunning," Bailey Yanche said in a daze. Di Baichen chuckled and said, "Leave it to me. I'll capture him." Seeing the man's confident appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly and was not worried. On the other side, the three people who were under Xiren's frenzied attacks were all killed. "Xiren, if you had shown such combat power earlier, your face would not have been beaten into a pig's head." Bai Li Yanche chuckled. "Who would have thought that these guys are going overboard?" When Xiren had a gloomy look on his face. He touched his bruised face and asked, "How's my face?" That's good, that's good." Only then did Xiren reveal a relieved expression. Ling Er looked at Xiren in confusion and said, "Why are you suddenly so concerned about this?" "It's because Baichen and Yanche are too handsome. I feel pressured to be concerned about them." Xiren shook his head and sighed, then looked at Xiao Xuanzi and said, "Xiao Xuanzi, you should be thinking the same thing as me." Xiao Xuanzi, scram? Xiren, what's there to be afraid of? Xiao Xuanzi, do you want to be punched in the face again? Xiren, pretend I didn't say anything. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the farce between the two and shook her head. She noticed that Yang Tianzhao was already treating Jiang Zhen's wound, then looked at Lu Jin and asked, "What is going on? How did they target this place?" Chapter 7382. Lu Jin shook his head, his face full of confusion. "I don't know either. They suddenly appeared a few days ago. I don't know where they got the news from. They had been wandering around the town before, so we noticed something was wrong. But after we found out, they left. I didn't expect them to suddenly appear here today, and they have already investigated the situation clearly." Yang Tianzhao also walked over and said, "Su Shen died so quickly. Maybe these people have something to do with him." Over the years, Su Shen had been setting up a trap. When they came back from the heavenly moat, everything went smoothly. After that, they didn't encounter any danger. Gradually, they treated it as if the dust had settled. Now it seemed that the helpers Su Shen had found were stronger than they thought. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. If the other party was really Su Shen's people, then they came here so late. Their information was too outdated. Don't think too much. Now this matter has come to an end. You're seriously injured, so you should go back and rest first. Although Lu Jin and the others' lives were not in danger, they had been severely beaten before and looked very miserable. How are the others in the town? When they arrived earlier, they had noticed a lot of blood here. Presumably, many people had died in the hands of those people. Hearing this, Lu Jin reacted and hurriedly said, "Lu Ting also sent a few people to control the others. Xin Shuxing is in their hands. I don't know how he is now." "Where are they?" Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed and her face became serious. "They should be in the inn." Her voice fell, and Bailey Hongzhuang and the others quickly rushed in the direction of the inn. Xin Shuxing was undoubtedly the first friend they made in the town. If it weren't for his help, everything would not have gone so smoothly. Inside the room, Xin Shuxing, who was covered in wounds, stood in front of the shopkeeper. "What do you want to do?" "Let me ask you, who is Di Baichen's friend?" the man asked coldly. Xin Shuxing looked at the man with surprise. Could it be that this man was Di Baichen's enemy? "Who's Di Baichen?" "I've never heard of this name," the shopkeeper hurriedly replied. It was obvious that this man was their enemy. If they admitted that they knew him, they would all be in big trouble. "Old man, who asked you?" The man kicked the shopkeeper. "I advise you not to have any other thoughts. We've already found out that they went to the crossing celestial domain from here. Lu Jin and the others will die today. If you obediently tell us the others, we might have a chance of survivals." Xin Shuxing and the others felt their hearts skip a beat. They had caused such a huge commotion here. If nothing had happened, Lu Jin and the others would have already arrived. However, they had not arrived yet. This meant that they were in a terrible situation. Perhaps they were really being controlled. If they were really controlled, then they, and even the entire town, would be finished. The man noticed that Xin Shuxing's expression kept changing, and he knew that Shin Xuxing must know something. Hurry up and tell me. Shin Xuxing's expression changed slightly, but he still did not say anything. He and Beichen were friends, so naturally he could not betray him. Chapter 73-83. I don't know, I really don't know. Shin Xuxing kept thinking in his heart. The other party came for Di Beichen, but from the content of the question, it was unlikely that the other party could find them through the natural moat. The reason why he did this was probably because he wanted to vent his anger. No matter who he said was Di Beichen's friend, that person would definitely die. The people in the town had always lived in harmony. No one would be pushed out as a scapegoat. I think you want to die. The man lost his patience and directly stabbed Shin Xuxing's leg with his sword. Swish. Blood spurted out. Ah! Shin Xuxing couldn't help but scream. The pain in his leg made his face pale. Xuxing, are you okay? The shopkeeper was also frightened by the scene. The bright red blood reflected in his eyes. He covered Shin Xuxing's injured leg with his hands and said, We really don't know. You forced us, but we still don't know anything. The man snorted coldly, Since you don't know, there's no use for you to keep you alive. Just kill all of you together. Outside the house, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others sped up after hearing the scream. They quickly rushed to the inn. Bang! The door of the inn was directly kicked open, and it instantly shattered into pieces. When the man inside saw that the person who kicked the door was a heavenly beauty, his eyes were filled with excitement. Yo, I didn't know that there was such a beauty in this town. It's really an eye-opener. Facing the man's covetous face, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't say anything and directly sent him flying with a kick. The most eye-opening part is yet to come. The man didn't take Bailey Hongzhuang's attack seriously. He only thought that it was a showy but impractical move. He didn't expect that this kick would directly send him flying and fiercely hit the wall. He directly spat out a mouthful of blood. Shin Xuxing and the shopkeeper finally saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others clearly. Their faces were suddenly filled with excitement. Hongzhuang, when did you come back? I'm lucky. I made it just in time. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but rejoice. If they didn't come back today and came back 2 days later, the entire town would probably have ceased to exist. We're really lucky. The shopkeeper heaved a sigh of relief. I'm too old to take such a shock. I almost fainted. Shin Xuxing smiled as if he had just survived a disaster. We're not fated to die yet. Woman, you're courting death. When the remaining two saw that the man was sent flying, they immediately rushed towards Bailey Hongzhuang. However, the essence energy in Bailey Hongzhuang's body surged as she struck out 2 consecutive palms. The two of them ended up in the same state. Initial immortal stage. The two men looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. They had already investigated this place. The experts in the initial immortal stage were clearly under Lu Teng's control, so they slowly interrogated them here. They didn't expect that another initial immortal stage expert would appear at this time. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Bai Li Yanche. The latter immediately understood and walked towards the 3 men. The 3 of them only saw a purple wind sweep past. 2 of them directly went to see the King of Hell. Only one of them was left and he was tied up by Bai Li Yanche. Miss Bailey, quickly take a look at Xuxing's leg. The shopkeeper released his blood-stained hands and looked anxiously at Bailey Hongzhuang. He's still so young. His leg can't be broken. Chapter 73-84. Let me take a look. Bailey Hongzhuang tore open the trousers around the wound. The ghastly wound immediately came into view. She cleaned the wound and applied some medicine. The wound is very deep. He needs to recuperate for a while, but it won't affect his ability to walk in the future. Don't worry. Shin Xuxing smiled. It's not a big deal. It's already not easy to keep my life today. You silly child. A bad life is better than a good death. You haven't even married yet. Why are you saying such things? The shopkeeper scolded angrily. Don't do this in the future. Yes. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others laughed when they saw this. The atmosphere became much more relaxed. Other than this place, are there any other places that are under control? Shin Xuxing shook his head. Oh, that's good. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. You all rest for a while. I'll go take a look at Beichen. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to go out, she saw Di Beichen's figure. I'm already back. Di Beichen walked in front and dragged Lu Teng all the way back. Compared to his arrogant appearance before, Lu Teng was obviously much more miserable now. His face was bruised black and blue, almost like a pig's head. His sullen face was filled with fear and panic. When the crowd saw that Lu Teng was not only defeated by Di Beichen, but also dragged back, their eyes were filled with amazement. A rank 1 defeated a rank 2. Beichen, you're really something. Xiren looked at Di Beichen with admiration. Last time he also learned about the cultivation method after the elementary immortal stage, so he understood the difference between ranked 1 and ranked 2. This was the first time they fought, and he could defeat a ranked 2 directly. It was obvious that his strength was not ordinary. This guy's combat strength is not very good. I think he's at the bottom of rank 2. He's not worth mentioning. Di Beichen glanced at Lu Teng indifferently. He did not take him seriously at all. He had fought with Qing Devil before, but Qing Devil's cultivation was undoubtedly much higher than Lu Teng's. There was no comparison between the two at all. It was embarrassing that a rank 2 was defeated by a rank 1 cultivator. Now he was humiliated by this guy in front of so many people. Lu Teng was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. It was not because he was weak but because this guy's combat strength was beyond his expectations. Lu Teng's eyes. Lu, what's the matter with you? Lu Teng's face darkened and he didn't answer. Beichen his? Calm? Not only did he reach rank 1, but his combat strength was even stronger than his. Wasn't this a trap? Shen Xuxing had been helped to a chair by the others. When he saw Di Beichen he said, Beichen, these people are here for you. Are they your enemies? As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes fell on Di Beichen. These people were actually here for him? Di Beichen turned his eyes and looked at Lu Teng. Who sent you here? They had never seen Lu Teng before. Naturally they did not know him. Since he could come here to find them, he must be well informed. Lu Teng raised his head and said, Since I've fallen into your hands today, I'm dead for sure. Chapter 7385. No matter what, I won't tell you. Don't waste your time. Lu Teng's expression was resolute, as if he was ready to risk everything. If he couldn't accomplish this task he would die either way. There was no room for negotiation. Hearing this, Lu Jin and the others could not help but sigh. They were the ones who had fallen into such a predicament. They did not expect that in the blink of an eye, it would be Lu Teng who fell into such a predicament. Bai Lianche and the others subconsciously looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. In terms of interrogation she was the best. Lu Teng noticed the expressions of the others and felt a little strange. He did not understand what was going on. However, he soon understood. If you don't want to talk, I have ways to make you talk. Bailey Hongzhuang did not give Lu Teng a choice. She reached out and stuffed the poison into his mouth. What did you feed me? Lu Teng panicked. Death was nothing to be afraid of but the process of dying. If you can hold back and not talk, I'll admit that you're amazing. Hearing this, Bai Lianche and the others could not help but look at Lu Teng sympathetically. This guy was going to be miserable later. Yang Tianzhao and the others understood what Bailey Hongzhuang was going to do. However, this guy had almost destroyed their entire town, so he deserved to end up like this. Therefore no one pitied him at all. Not long after, Lu Teng felt as if his entire body was on fire. Intense pain emerged from every corner of his body. His face instantly turned red. Even if he clenched his teeth, it was useless. This kind of pain was more painful than any pain he had ever endured. Woman, what did you do to me? Lu Teng shouted crazily. He had seen many poisons but he had never seen any that could be so strong. I won't ask you, so don't ask me either. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was indifferent as she sat on the side. She didn't seem to care at all. Lu Teng rolled on the ground. His face was extremely ferocious. His eyes were bloodshot and the veins on his forehead were bulging. I'll talk. I'll tell you everything. Please, I beg you, give me a quick death. Lu Teng crawled step by step to Bailey Hongzhuang and begged in extreme pain. The pain made him feel that even death was a kind of mercy. However, Bailey Hongzhuang did not care. Didn't you plan to say it? Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. Even if you want to say it now, I don't want to hear it. Lu Teng's eyes widened as he stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. You poisonous woman. Throw him out. When Xiren lifted Lu Teng up and casually threw him outside. I've long found this guy an eyesore. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the man in the corner whose face was already pale with fright and said, I'll give you a chance, will you speak or not? I'll tell you everything. The man said without hesitation. He knew how powerful Lu Teng was. Now that Lu Teng had kowtowed and begged for mercy, there was no need for him to say anything. Miss, I'll tell you everything. I only ask that you can give me a quick death. Sure. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled but her eyes were still cold. That is on the premise that you're telling the truth. Otherwise, I'll let you taste more pain than he did. The man's heart trembled. He did not dare to have any thoughts and hurriedly said, "Of course I'll never lie." Chapter 7386. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally understood what was going on after hearing the flustered man's narration. It turned out that they were sent by Qing Mo previously. They were looking for traces of Bailey Hongzhuang's group, so they came to the small town. After telling the news to Qing Devil and the others went to the crossing immortal realm first. Before they set off, Qing Devil left a message for them. He told them to kill all the people related to Di Baichen in the small town. As long as they did it, they would be rewarded. Qing Devil was quite powerful in the immortal realm. Although their cultivations were good, they hadn't gained a firm foothold in the immortal realm. Therefore they wanted to follow Qing Devil wholeheartedly. This matter was their stepping stone. Originally this matter was assigned to someone else. However, after Lu Ting heard the news, he spent a lot of effort to take over this task. Who would have thought that this task, which was supposed to be easy, would end up like this? It was beyond everyone's expectation. After learning about this simple plot, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others fell silent. In this case, all the people in the small town were implicated. It's our fault. We're sorry to have implicated you. Di Baichen's voice was low, and his handsome face was full of guilt. Even if it was not clear how many casualties there were in the small town, but according to the situation they had seen along the way, the number of cultivators who had fallen was not small. Lu Jin and the others looked pale. None of them expected to be implicated in such an unexpected disaster. And it was Di Baichen and the others who caused all this. Who else knows about this except you? Not many people know about it. Brother Lu has killed those people. As for the others, they were killed by you, the man said in a trembling voice. Hearing this, the others felt a little relieved. At least, no one knew about this matter anymore. With Qing Devil's current condition, he wouldn't waste his time on this kind of thing. I'm really sorry, Bailey Hongzhuang said guiltily. Her dark, almond-shaped eyes were full of hatred. She had long known that the Qing Devil was not a good person, but she did not expect him to be so evil. The Qing Devil wanted to kill all the people who knew them. It meant that anyone who knew them would be regarded as an enemy by the Qing Devil. This level of cruelty really made one blush with shame. Lu Jin and the others were silent at first. In the end, it was Xin Shuxing who broke the silence. You didn't expect this to happen. Besides, you saved us today. Seeing this, the shopkeeper also said, That's right, this is something that no one has ever thought of. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame that guy for being too vicious. Yeah. Lu Qiu's face was full of anger. That Qing Devil is really crazy. Will you be in danger when you go to the immortal realm in the future? We will avenge you, Di Baichen said. I believe in you. Lu Jin also thought it through. Although the smile on his face was a little forced, it was not as complicated as before. It hasn't been long since they went to the immortal realm, but they have already broken through to the first stage. Di Baichen and Xin Shuxing had just broken through to the elementary immortal realm, but they had already broken through to the first stage in such a short time. He thought that their progress would be very slow after they went to the immortal realm. He didn't expect them to be faster than he thought. It was obvious that these two were very talented. Chapter 7387. Where is Qing Devil in the immortal realm now? Di Baichen asked. He's in the Qing Pingzhou. The man answered without hesitation. There are 13 continents in the immortal realm. Qing Devil is in the Qing Pingzhou. The Qing Pingzhou used to be the stronghold of Qing Devil. His remaining forces are here. Therefore he came back to the Qing Pingzhou after he returned to the immortal realm. However, Qing Devil has many enemies. Therefore people only know that he is in the Qing Pingzhou, but they don't know his exact location. It's said that he has more than one stronghold. How did you get in touch with Qing Devil? Lu Ting got the news when he was in the Qing Pingzhou. It said that he knew one of Qing Devil's subordinates. I don't know much about this. According to Lu Ting, he got the news after the other party got drunk. It said that one can find Qing Devil in the Qing Pingzhou with a token. A token? That's right. The man nodded. After Lu Ting got the news from the other party, he killed him directly. I think this token should be in Lu Ting's storage ring. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. Since there was a token, it would be much easier for them to find Qing Devil in the future. From the man's narration, everyone already had a vague outline of the immortal realm that they had no understanding of. However, this person's strength was not strong, and the things he knew were very limited. Many of them were heard from other people, so they could not completely believe it. All right. Di Beichen retracted his gaze. In any case, this news was of great use to them. Bai Lian-che took the man out and gave him a quick death. At the same time, he took back the man's and Lu Ting's storage rings. This should be the token he mentioned. Bai Lian-che took out a token with the word Qing written on it. Just like Qing Ji, who they killed before, Qing Devil and his subordinates were all named with the word Qing, which was their symbol. Di Beichen took the token and looked at it carefully. Then he put it away. Qing Devil came to find us. Now it's time for us to go to his stronghold. Today's enmity would be engraved in their hearts, and they would definitely return it all in the future. An eye for an eye, an eye for an eye. This had always been their way of doing things. However, there was one thing they didn't want to see, and that was, they didn't want to see the fish in the moat get implicated. The Azure Fiend's actions were completely immoral, which made them hate him from the bottom of their hearts. Lu Qiu and the others noticed the expressions of Di Beichen and the others, and their faces couldn't help but show a worried look. Jiang, are you going to the Immortal Realm? We originally planned to go to the Immortal Domain this time around. Have you found the person you're looking for? Jiang Jin asked. Di Beichen was surprised. Then he said, yes, but she was taken away by Qing Devil. So we still have to find Qing Devil. Hearing this, everyone understood. It seems that this person is very important to you. They traveled thousands of miles to come here and even traveled between the Immortal Realm and the Immortal Realm. If she wasn't important, they wouldn't have put in so much effort. She's our enemy. Di Beichen's eyes darkened. This time we won't let her get away. It had been a long journey from the upper world to the Immortal Realm and then to the Immortal Realm. Chapter 7388. Enemy? Yang Tianzhao was stunned. They had always thought that Di Beichen and his group had spent so much effort to travel to the crossing celestial realm, so the other party must be someone very important to them. However, they had never thought that the other party would be their enemy. Such an enemy? They must have a blood feud with him. That's right. Di Beichen smiled faintly. There are always grudges that must be settled. Then you'll avenge our town as well. When the time comes, you'll avenge them as well. Jiang Jin's expression was serious. One could see the anger in his heart from his expression. They had lived in this town for so long, and they had developed feelings for everyone. Now, so many people had died in this town. It was indescribable how sad they were. I will. Di Beichen nodded. After I've avenged them, I'll tell you the news. Okay. After that, everyone settled Xin Shuxing and Lu Qiu down to rest. Then they went to check on the situation in the town. Many people had died in the town. Fortunately, Lu Jin had informed the others immediately before the incident happened. Therefore, many people took the opportunity to escape. They only returned after everything had stabilized. Therefore, even though there were many casualties, the town's foundation was still there. Lu Jin and the others tacitly did not mention that this trouble was caused by Di Beichen and his group. They only said that other people had noticed that something was wrong with the spirit-devouring stone and wanted to take a share of the loot. No one doubted this news. They had always kept a low profile and did not mention anything about the spirit-devouring stone. However, there was no such thing as an absolute secret in this world. Eventually, someone would find out about it. Bailey Hongzhuang clenched her fists when she saw the sorrowful expressions on everyone's faces. Qing Devil. I'll kill him. This guy is really despicable. Shengguan Yingying was furious. He's a cultivator in the elementary celestial realm. How could he kill these people? He's really sick. Generally speaking, when a cultivator's strength had increased to a certain level, they would not be interested in attacking cultivators who were too weak. Just like how they were not interested in attacking cultivators from the upper realm, this was a kind of bullying in itself. Everyone had a tacit understanding not to do so unless the other party provoked them. Qing Devil had gone too far this time. I'm afraid we have to be more careful in the future. I thought we had done a good job, but Qing Devil still found out our whereabouts easily. I'm afraid we have to be careful even if we want to make friends in the future. Bai Lian-che's expression was grave. This time, because of them, so many people in the small town had lost their lives. If they didn't want to implicate others, they had to be more careful. Otherwise, once the other party seized the opportunity, trouble would come. Judging from Qing Devil's means, he was ready to risk everything. He would do anything that could hurt them without hesitation. Unless we get rid of the Qing Devil, we have to be careful. Di Beichen nodded slightly. I understand. Last time, Qing Devil was injured. I don't know how he is now. Xiren sighed. Suddenly his expression changed and he said, since even the small town has been implicated, will Yunju and others be in danger? Obviously, Qing Devil had found out that they had stayed in Xiun City. As long as they followed the clues, they would find out everything. Chapter 7389. Hearing Xiren's words, everyone's expression changed. We can't stay here any longer. We have to go back as soon as possible. Let's go. Everyone decided to leave almost immediately. Xiren's guess was very reasonable. The people in the town didn't have much to do with them, but now they ended up like this. Yunju and the others were definitely the Qing Devil's targets. If anything happens to Yunju and the others, I will definitely cut the Qing Devil into pieces. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was gloomy, and her clear black and white eyes were shining with a gloomy light. Boss, after you left, some people came to Xiun City to inquire about the news. At that time, I didn't know who they were, but I arranged some means to get rid of them. Maybe it will work. You don't have to worry too much. Hearing this, Di Beichen nodded slightly, but the worry in his eyes didn't disappear. He didn't know whether this means would work or not. The Qing Devil's people were not stupid. They couldn't be fooled by ordinary camouflage. Yunju and the others are also very powerful. Even if they really encounter the Qing Devil, they will have a way to deal with it, Bailey Hongzhuang comforted herself. Yunju and Zhongli were very powerful. When they left, they were looking for an opportunity to break through. According to her judgment, they should have broken through to the elementary celestial stage now. The Qing Devil just asked someone to do it. He probably didn't spend too much effort on it. Naturally, the people he sent wouldn't be too powerful. Facing the people in the town, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others felt guilty, but there was nothing they could do for them now. The only thing they could do was to leave some cultivation resources and elixirs for them. You can leave with peace of mind. The town will soon be as good as new. Lu Jin noticed the guilt of Di Beichen and the others, and a relieved smile appeared on his face. After such a thing happened, don't you plan to leave? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Lu Jin shook his head slightly. Our town has existed for many years and has always been doing this kind of business. In the realm of chaotic immortal, devouring stones are very rare. We are one of the sources. If we disappear, those people will not let us go easily. Besides, our two sects are already used to these things. It's not a big deal, so you don't have to worry too much. It won't be long before we return to our original state. Everyone will be the same as before. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang had a complicated look on her face, but she understood what he meant. Every place had its own beliefs. This town had been doing the spirit-devouring stone business for a long time. Almost everyone was used to it. If they left this place, they would not be used to it. We already know your intentions. Everyone is very grateful to you for giving us so many healing pills and cultivation resources. This is what we should do. I know that this can't make up for anything, but this is all we can do for now. Bailey Hongzhuang was a little ashamed. When we kill the Qing Devil in the future, we will definitely use this good news to pay tribute to the dead souls underground. We are waiting for your good news, Jiang Jin said with a hearty smile. Jiang Jin laughed heartily. When you become stronger in the future, you have to protect us. Don't think about these things for now. Goodbye. Take care. Chapter 7390. We do owe everyone in the town, but there's nothing we can do now. You've introduced Zhou Su and the others to Lu Jin. In the future, we can ask our eldest brother to do business with them. I think everyone in the town will be better off. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's worried look, Di Beichen held her hand and said gently. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. In the past, there have been many cultivators who have fallen, but because of us, there are not many who have been implicated. I'm really sorry. So am I. Di Beichen looked into the distance. Everything will come to an end eventually, King Pengsu. Xiao Soa looked at Qing Devil, who was still in a coma, her face full of worry. He has been in a coma for so long and has taken all the medicine. Why hasn't he woken up yet? You are a bunch of good-for-nothings. What kind of quack doctor did you find? Two of Qing Devil's men were half kneeling in front of her. Hearing Xiao Sou's angry words, there was a trace of impatience between their eyebrows. We found the best doctor in King Pengsu. Then why hasn't he woken up yet? Xiao Sou roared and slammed the teacup in front of the man. Miss, according to the doctor, there are some hidden dangers left by His Excellency's possession. It will take some time for these hidden dangers to be eliminated gradually. Now he encountered such a thing and was seriously injured. He has used the best medicine to save His Excellency's life. Although he has been in a coma for a long time, this time, as long as he wakes up, his previous hidden dangers will completely disappear. You don't have to worry too much. Miss? Xiao Sou's eyes became sharp. How many times have I told you? Call me madam. I'm Qing Devil's woman. I gave birth to his child. I'm the hostess here. You all have to call me madam. The man remained silent. No matter how angry Xiao Sou was, neither of them responded. They only knew that the young master was Qing Devil's child, but they couldn't be sure whether this woman was qualified to be the hostess. Unless His Excellency says it himself after he wakes up, we won't call anyone madam. Seeing that the two men were like stones in a latrine, Xiao Sou gave up her plan and said coldly, wait and see. When Qing Devil wakes up, I'll make you kowtow and apologize. We'll make amends. Xiao Sou was so angry that she laughed. She wanted to take advantage of the time when Azure Demon was in a coma to secure her position as the mistress. When they first met in the Crossing Immortal region, she knew that Azure Demon did not care about her at all. Now that Di Baichen and his companions had found Duxian Domain, Qing Devil was her only support. If she did not grasp all of this, it would be impossible for her to continue living in the Immortal Domain. Fortunately, she still had her child. As long as she had her child, she would have the greatest support. No matter what, the Azure Demon would not abandon his child's mother. By the way, have you done what I asked you to do? We've checked. Di Baichen and his companions stayed in Xian City. Except for the city lord, they didn't have many close friends, the man replied. The corners of Xiao Sou's lips curled up slightly. Let's get rid of everyone who is related to them. They don't have a good relationship with these people. The man frowned. Chapter 7391. So what? Xiao Sou raised her eyebrows and said, you've seen how powerful Di Baichen and his companions are. They're always like this. Even if they don't see each other for a while, their strength will improve a lot. Now that the Qing Devil hasn't woken up, we have no other choice. The only thing we can do is to get rid of their subordinates first. Otherwise, once they grow up, they will become more troublesome for us. Moreover, if we do that, their mood will be affected. Maybe their strength will improve more slowly. Hearing that, the two men looked at each other with a trace of hesitation. Seeing that they were still reluctant, Xiao Sou's face darkened immediately. I think you two have been disloyal for a long time. So you didn't do what you should do when the Qing Devil was unconscious? They are from the chaotic immortal realm. Their strength is much weaker than ours. Moreover, Di Baichen and his companions have already gone to the chaotic immortal realm. It's really unnecessary for us to do that. How do you know he won't go back? Xiao Sou snorted coldly. I asked you to do other things, but you didn't want to do it. Now, you don't even want to do such a small thing. How can I not be suspicious? When the Azure Demon wakes up, I'll definitely tell him everything. Let's see if you'll have a good time then. Miss, we will send someone to do it, the man said. That's more like it, Xiao Sou said with a cold face. You can leave now. After they left the room, the two men's faces darkened to the extreme. So King unlucky. Why did Master fall in love with such a woman? There are so many women in the Qingpeng continent who are much better than her. It's useless to say that now. I think Master doesn't care about her. However, for the sake of the child, she won't leave here in the future. We'd better be patient. Are we really going to do the thing in the chaotic immortal realm? What can we do if we don't do it? This woman is clearly using a chicken feather as a token of authority. She's deliberately causing trouble while Milord is unconscious. Di Baichen and the others are indeed not weak. Now that Milord has yet to wake up, we don't know if they have the intention of coming to us. There's nothing wrong with us doing something. That's true, but this is too much of a bully. The man scoffed inwardly. We have some reputation in the immortal region, yet we're going to deal with those fellows from the realm of chaos? I'm not that idiot Qingji. Even he went to the realm of chaotic immortal because he had other things to do. What's going on with us? The man didn't say anything. He only sighed. This situation was indeed very embarrassing. Xian City. When Bai Ziyuan saw Mo Yunjue and his group, he immediately welcomed them. Young Master Mo, you're here. Please come in. Mo Yunjue bowed with his hands clasped in front of him before following him inside. Before Di Baichen and his group left, he had introduced them to the city governor so they could take care of each other. Bai Ziyuan asked, Young Master Mo, it's been so long. Is there still no news from young Master Di and the others? Mo Yunjue shook his head slightly. Not yet. We think they'll be back soon. Therefore we plan to wait in Xi'an City to avoid missing them. Bai Ziyuan understood when he heard this. That's true. The realm of Chaotic Immortal is huge. It'll be difficult to find them if we miss them. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.